Spot TV on the iRacing Esports Network and to Sebring International Raceway for your running of round number 2 of the VRCE Classic Indycar Series. Hello everybody, I am Nolan Renfro with Rob Howden in the booth beside me today and Mr. Randolph Chenworth behind the cameras in the producer's seat for today's presentation. Sebring, of course, located in the lovely state of Florida in the United States of America. A true challenge to behold with its incredibly bumpy surface. So, Rob, it should be a very interesting race for us today, especially with the fact that we are not running the full layout. We are actually running the shorter, modified configuration of the circuit.
This particular layout, Nolan, I find it very, very intriguing. There's some unbelievably fast parts of the racetrack. They're going to have to load the cars up. A very, very tight run through turns 2 and 3. This is going to be a very exciting race, I think, especially with the number of drivers we have. The start's going to be crazy. The first time into turn number 2 is going to be crazy. I'm thrilled to be part of this Classic IndyCar Series and joining you here today in the booth.
And with this in mind, it's going to be a very interesting one indeed. So let's go ahead and take a look at a lap guide for today's race, driven by Robert Grosser and commented over by Matt Baird.
Welcome to Sebring, Florida for your 2020 Virtual Race Car Engineer Classic IndyCar Series race. Robert Grosser will give you a quick first-hand look for the modified layout of the Sebring International Speedway. Entering turn 1 will be very quick with a high downforce setup. We will reach speeds of nearly 150 miles per hour while being inches away from the inside concrete barrier. Here we will brake hard to make 2 right-hand turns to take the modified layout of the track. Next will be medium speed turns at 4, 5, and 6. This will be one of the very few tracks where we can actually use the curbs to our advantage throughout the race. Setting up for turn 7, we will go off the track line slightly to give us a wider arc during the airport runway stretch of the track. This turn will be one of the most important as it will set up the driver with speeds of up to 175 miles per hour going down the runway. At the end of the stretch, there's a very bumpy sunset bend that is very tricky to navigate. If we miss our line slightly, it could upset the car and send it spinning. Between passing opportunities from the stretch and mistakes in the corner, expect to see a lot of action in these 2 turns. This has been a track tour provided by Robert Grosser and Josh Baird. I hope you enjoy the race.
That was your lap guide of the Sebring modified circuit presented by Robert Grosser and Matt Baird. 2 of the drivers, I believe, that are in the field. I know at least Robert Grosser's on the field. It's currently sitting on the pole position. Well, track conditions as well, you know, it is a decently hot track today in Florida, 114 degrees Fahrenheit for the track temperatures today. A wind's currently blowing at about southeast at 2 miles an hour, well, 1 mile an hour now. So very calm wind today, so not a lot of headwind for these drivers to work with. Qualifying just wrapping up here, Rob. So in just a moment's time, we are going to get set to go for our started grid, and let's actually bring that to you right now as the cars begin to grid on up. It is going to be Robert Grosser starting on pole position with Riley Thompson down in second place with a 54.661. Henry Bennett and Matt Molnar brings up row number 2 in 3rd and 4th. 5th and 6th we'll have Luke Slaville and Logan Simmons. Joshua Chin and Joan Kaihanen in 8th place. It's going to be Jan Hoffman in 9th place. Rounding out the top 10 will be Marshall Stanley. Johnny Garrett is going to be 11th with Timo Izunami in 12th place. Ariel Guerra Jr. in 13th. Clark Archer in 14th place. Josh Baird in 15th with Luka Lekcevic in 16th place. Besa Jihololia in 17th with Ethan Agan in 18th. Tristan Hauser in 19th, and rounding out the top 20 is going to be Jamie Wilson. Liam Queen is starting 21st place with Ryan Hellier in 22nd place in that 27 machine. Karsten Broadway in that 35 machine starting 23rd with Andrew Adair Saunders in 24th place. Hans Pitkinen in 25th place with Randy Shoemake in 26th place. David Sustello in 27th. Martij Nego-Kirken, forgive me if I pronounced that one wrong, in 28th place. And rounding out the 30-car field for today, it is going to be Jos Verhoeven and Andrew Wood. So 30 cars going to be taken to the grid today. We did have 40 drivers, 38 that set times. Of course, they eliminated some of the drivers in the back, so only the top 30 are going to be making the grid today, Rob.
Yeah, tough for a couple of these drivers. You're thinking about a championship chase, and we saw some of these drivers here who are not making the show actually feature in the battle, a top 10 battle at Fontana for the opening round. They had 37 cars at Fontana with 9 cautions. Joshua Chin, who scored that victory, his 3rd career win with Team Camara. He's actually further deeper in the field, as is Clark Archer for V-Apex Racing Group, who actually finished 2nd at Fontana. Deeper in the field, but tough for these drivers not able to make the show, as only 30 spots available for qualifying.
There are some trouble points you're going to have to look out for on the track, and one of them is going to be in turn number 2. You saw in that lap guide, you're going to see it again here. It is unbelievably tight down through turn number 2, so that's going to be definitely one of the trouble points to watch out. So one-lined, and well, again, round number 2 coming up for you in just a moment's time. I believe 12 races will be the total today. Next time we go racing, it is going to be over at Phoenix Speedway, actually, the old 2008 layout for the Valvoline 200. So that is going to be a very interesting race, to say the least. Well, cars are going to be coming around through the Le Mans curve now, and down the back straightaway for what is going to be the only pace lap that they get. And well, Rob, final thoughts before these drivers go to take the green.
I think for most of us, those in the cars for sure, they're going to be holding their breath, because this run through turn number 1, which is so quick, they're of course not going to be that fast because just getting started. But I'll tell you, Nolan, that run into turn number 2, 3 for the first time, they'll be jumping on the binders. Let's hope the drivers further back in the pack will take their time. This is a long race, right? We've got a long way to go here. You can lose that race in the opening laps, settle in, be smart, and then we can go racing throughout the entire 100-lap distance.
One of the other passing opportunities is going to be down to the Sunset Bend, not taking the triple apex sweeper that you usually see. It is a very tight hairpin at the very end as the field files their way through. That's going to be one of the other pass zones to look out for. So, Robert Grosser on the pole. Pace car going to make that dive down to pit road, and we get set to go racing. Grosser on the loud pedal. We are off and away here at Sebring for round number 2 in the Classic IndyCar Series. A beautiful jump from Grosser on down. Was turn number 1, throwing himself through for the first time today, going double file, almost 3 wide at some places. Heads up for the X, though. Here comes turn 2, which we are expecting to be Calamity Corner. All drives on the binders. One car spun around to the back already, and that is can't quite get a beat on who that is, but he is going to be dropping all the way down the order. So an unfortunate start for some drivers today. It is Johnny Garrett from 11th place that ended up going off, and he has lost a lot of time.
Oh, a really good start for the drivers up front. Grosser got a good jump on the green. The top 3 drivers were actually single file by the time they worked their way already into turn number 2 and 3. Here's Grosser on board with the Vortex Sim Racing driver down to the hard braking zone. You talked about the hairpin, not using the full traditional triple apex right-hander that we have here at Sebring. It's a much tighter corner, the right-hander. Grosser with a nice little lead right now. Nolan looks like he's got about 4 or 5 car lengths coming across the line to put the first lap in the books. Now they got the full speed run through turn number 1. I tried this circuit myself to get prepared for the broadcast, and man, a quick corner, jumping on the brakes back into 2 and 3. It's got to be the most narrow hairpin you're going to have anywhere in North American racing right now.
Logan Simmons had a bit of an issue down in 6th place. He went over one of the bumps on the exit of the Sunset Bend and actually spun sideways and glanced off of the concrete barrier. That car has got some pretty nasty wing damage now, so that is going to be affecting his performance. Might have to come down and get it repaired. So a couple drivers having some early race strife, it would seem. And it looks like got one car that's actually slow as well. Ariel Guerra Jr. Has been slow off of the Le Mans curve, so might have had some problems himself, letting a good portion of the field by. So some drivers having issues earlier today. He's might lose another spot out here to Clark Archer as they go side by side of the exit of Sunset.
And Clark Archer had a really good run in the opening round at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Was able to get that 2nd place finish. And what a wild finish that was at Fontana. 4 drivers going at it over the last couple of laps. Archer not able to get by Joshua Chin on the final circuit, but he's running pretty good here now. Up into the 15th position, started a little further back, as I said. But I like what he's doing right now, Nolan. He's being smart. He's not trying to overdrive the thing. Settle in. Such a long race right now. Now he's got his spot. you can go to work. Let's find the guy in front of you. Let's go to work. Let's make sure you find out where you're quicker than he is. Get that good run down into turn number 8 at the end of the Ullman Straight, and then make that move for the pass.
Oh, absolutely. Very long race course, 100 laps today. More than you might usually see at an IndyCar race on a road course. That, of course, does come with the shorter track distance, expected to be about 1 hour and 40 minutes. We're going to be going at it today. And they just get so close to that tire barrier, to the tire barriers on the exit of Sunset. That's going to be one thing to watch for as well. Turning the eyes back up front to your lead group, which is, well, more or less single filed out. You're looking at 4th place right now. Henry Bennett is, well, he's knows his way. He's certainly liking his way around this Dallara IRO5s. Certainly hanging on to 4th place, and right now he's having to focus more on defense from Joni Kaihinen than he can on trying to run down Matt Molnar up in 3rd.
As you see that a lot when you get the drivers settling in as they are. Guys just starting to pair off 2 by 2. Here's a good battle here. We're following that fight. They're working their way down into the turn 8 corner. Move to the inside a little bit further back. I like this battle right now. I think that's the number 63. Actually, that's Joshua Chin in the Team Camara car. Chin has worked his way up to P5. Again, he qualified outside the top 10. So Chin coming off that victory at Fontana, your point leader coming here to Sebring. Good scrap here right now for Chin. That's P5.
Joshua Chin able to hold on to P5. Kaihinen not able to close in that gap as much as he would have liked on the entry to turn number 1. It can be kind of tricky to get it off, especially since you got that really huge bump right on the exit of Sunset that we've already seen 1 or 2 drivers getting unsettled by today. One of them went into the wall and bent up his front wing a bit. So it's one of the things you really got to watch out for, that throw in the cars through these high-speed corners. The battle up front, though, it might be on for 2nd place. Riley Thompson might be looking to have a go at Matt Molnar. Can he close the distance enough? He's definitely got the run, but he's not going to be close to the big move. Going to stay single file as they exit through that Sunset Bend. Here we'll see that big bump as all the cars file over it. Just such a massive transition from the asphalt to the concrete. It's so easy to unsettle these lighter Indy cars, and well, that's going to be one thing to look out for once you get a little bit closer to that pit window.
Nolan, there's a reason why the drivers in the NTT IndyCar series still use the track here at Sebring, not the full track, but the back part of the racetrack. The reason why they use it for testing when getting ready for the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, it's super, super bumpy. It reminds them very much of driving on the streets of St. Petersburg, whereas we know it's an airport until they turn it into the event every March. Of course, we weren't able to get the event in this year, but this race, of course, the throwback, the connection to the St. Petersburg event, this track is so tough. I don't care if it's IndyCar or if we're talking about the 12 hours of Sebring, Sunset Bend has always been one of the toughest parts of this racetrack. The car continues to unload, the shocks will compress and then extend once again. The drivers have to be so smart when rolling on power. You mentioned that bump coming through the apex. As they're transitioning back forward, if you're not on the throttle correctly, that's when the car can go around. That's going to be a very, very tough part of this racetrack before the day's done.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those places of the track where you need to keep on your toes. Oh, big lock up there from 2nd place. Matt Molnar having a huge bobble as they went through turn number 2 and 3. That almost left the door for Riley Thompson, who's just closed in that gap by a significant margin. Was not able to get that move done, and probably a good thing he didn't even try to. Definitely not a passing place for turn number 2, and Thompson with a much tighter line through the long curve. He's going to be a lot closer now to Molnar. No doubt he will try to make the move here as they approach Sunset Bend. There it is. Ducks to the inside and will get clear by the time they get to Sunset. The answer will be no, not quite. So side by side into the braking zone. Can Molnar try and go for a cutback? He can. In fact, Molnar, sometimes big contact, and both cars going around. Your battle for 3rd has just ended in disaster. Matt Molnar getting taken out by Henry Bennett.
Let's have a look at the replay, and we'll get a look to see what happened here coming down that straightaway. Again, a pretty good run for that number 5 machine of Matt Molnar, trying to hold them off. But again, here comes that big run back down the inside. Andrew, you almost had to believe something was going to happen further back.
Running on board with Henry Bennett, and then watches Molnar overshot the corner a little bit more, and there it was. Bennett really just squeezed Molnar right for the tire barriers. Molnar not left with a whole lot he could do. Fully alongside, and it's just one of those cases where you try to pinch a driver out and you all just run out of room. So taking one more angle like this one, you can see Thompson had closed them massively from that lockup that Molnar had going down into turn number 2. So just massive misfortune for him. And well, you can see Molnar, who has gone to third, he probably would have been content with fourth, but watch as Bennett squeezes him into the tires and just rebounds off and sent both of them around.
Yeah, it's a real shame to see that only 9 laps into a race. Again, we're not even to the 10% distance yet, and drivers having trouble. It was a great pass to the inside. Let's just say that. Riley Thompson, number 39, tremendous run for him to be able to put himself into second. Took the inside of the track, owned the apex, you own the exit. I say that all the time, and he was able to get the job done. It was a fight further back. We had one driver just getting a little bit too aggressive, trying to get that one extra position early. Again, lap number 9 working on the racetrack right now. Robert Grosser out front, 2.9 seconds now the lead.
Gap closing in a little bit down to 2.8 in the middle of the corner, but you know, at this point, not a whole lot can stop Robert Grosser. At this point, he would either need to be caught out in the middle of the pit cycle, that or he would have to have some sort of trouble himself, because he's well broken the draft from Riley Thompson, who's now having to more focus on Joshua Chin behind. And even then, that gap itself is just about a second apart still. Chin just barely clinging onto that draft, but he's going to have to try to find something to help him work his way up as look a little further down the order to Marshall Stanley running 7th place. He's trying to close to Jan Hoffman. So it seems like the whole field getting split up quite a bit in this one.
I think we probably would have expected that, right? No, we know that this is going to be a pretty solid battle. This track is a challenging one. It's not like running at Fontana at Auto Club Speedway, where you got a ton of draft and you're kind of just sitting there full throttling around the racetrack. It's all more about setup. This track takes a lot of car position. You got to make sure you're good on the brakes. You got to get back on the throttle correctly. Good battle further back. This is 20, 21, and 22. Berdowie in part of that one. Liam Quinn as well, part of that fight as the drivers get themselves out of turn 2 and 3. But you and I talked about it before the start of the broadcast. 4, 5, and 6, not really any opportunity to make a pass. You can dive bomb in turn number 7, but if you do that in Le Mans, then you're going to find yourself with no speed coming out, heading down the Almond Straight. So there's a lot of give and take for a good fast lap around this track here in Sebring.
A lot of opportunities for, you know, those past laps. And there's Tristan Hauser trying to make a look up the inside of Jassi Van de Ven. Actually might have scared him into running wide of this at the corner. So Van de Ven can continue to hold him off, and he will. Hauser not able to get the nose in there. That would have been a bit of an opportunistic dive bomb, to say the least. Now he's got a beautiful drive down this pit straightaway, side by side in turn number 1. This is going to be close, and Hauser with a brilliant pass around the outside line. And now he's got to try to run down Liam Quinn up there in that number 24 car, back down through turn number 2. This is one of the battles further down the order, currently fighting it out for, this is going to be the battle for 21st place in total. So, 22nd place in total, pardon me. So, Hauser definitely looking to try to work his way up there.
I like that pass though, Nolan. That was strong. That was aggressive on the outside.
Oh, we got a car into the tire barriers. Sorry about this one, but Luka Lechovic has had some problems on the exit of the Le Mans curve. Lost it all on his own and backed it into the tire barriers. So some difficulties going up. Replay coming up on your screens now. And well, you can see there's a bit of rear end damage on that car already. So you got to have a wonder if maybe some of that rear end downforce maybe going away played a hand in this one. So some misfortunes for Lechovic early on. I think actually that 73 machine might have actually looped it around in turn 2 a couple laps prior. So seems like some again some early race strife for a couple of our drivers.
It's going to happen, and you mentioned it, the damage you could see to the rear wing there of that machine for Lejovic, and if he didn't have the car placed correctly coming out of that corner, I don't think he was far enough out that he dropped the left side Firestones into the dirt, but it seemed like he may have just tried to pinch the corner a little bit, getting on the throttle, and without having that full wing to give him the rear downforce he needed, the car just started to rotate on him enough, and when you're on throttle and it starts to rotate like that, that's when you're having the issue. Battle here as well, too. Matt Molnar, the number 5 machine, running 10th. Josh Baird for Iconic Motorsports in the number 23, running in the 11th. A good run there for Matt Molnar. He now puts himself into the top 10, Nolan.
Indeed, so Molnar, remember he started really far up the order, and he ended up dropping back after having some difficulties under the green flag. So Molnar trying to work himself back up on the recovery drive now, and he's certainly doing good job for himself. He's now up into the top 10, like you said. And now you can see there's a big train of cars behind that might be looking to try to work their way up some positions as well. So seems like some battles might be looking to form up here pretty soon.
I'll tell you this right now, Vortex Sim Racing, we saw the lap from Robert Grosser at the start to give you a run around this particular track, this modified circuit at Sebring. Man, this team is doing fantastically right now. Grosser is your leader. Drivers in the top 10 include Jan Hoffman, Lucas Laville, and Timo Isanimi. All 4 of those drivers for Vortex Sim Racing in the top 10 right now.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have got some big issues over at turn number 2 again. And Timo, you were just talking about Timo Usanimi. He has had some big problems. He was actually shunted from behind by Riley Bennett. A big hit to the back end for that number 43 car. So some serious issues. And what we think it might have also started with Matt Molnar. So a lot of drivers having some serious issues as well. The incident that actually, put us under this little misfortune started further up the order. So yes, Henry Bennett shunting clean to the back of Isumini's car. So, and there was actually a car that was off ahead of them as well. Riley Thompson had his own struggles in the entry to turn 2 as well after getting into the gravel. So a lot of problems here on the 15th lap of the race, or the 14th lap of the race here.
I think it was a couple of different incidents, Nolan. There was one obviously on the entry into turn number 2. Look at the contact there on the replay. Yeah, that's some pretty aggressive action there. Harry Bennett getting into the back. Was that in the back of Molnar, do we believe?
No, that was
might have been Riley Thompson.
That was the back of Isunimi, actually. Riley Thompson had lost it on his own for second place. Had dipped it into the gravel on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, so we had contact there. We also had contact, obviously, on the entry. Here's Riley Thompson having an issue by himself on the racetrack as well, coming through to turn number 2. Tough part of the racetrack, Nolan. You transition out of so much speed coming through turn number 1. You drop a wheel on the exit there. There's the contact we saw there before. Another good shot of that run there that Bennett getting into the back into turn number 2. This 2-3 combination, tough part of the track to get through, but hard braking into the corner as well. And that's the incident that happened on the exit of turn number 3 as well.
Well, with that, we think we finally covered everything that happened in that one exciting lap. Battle is definitely on for 5th place, and a terrible run from Marshall Stanley, who's almost getting pushed 3 wide. Jan Hoffman being forced to back out. That was close. Marshall Stanley got it a little too throttle happy and nearly sent the back end around. So very close call with the number 25. Somehow is going to maintain 4th place, but now Joshua Chin, with all that confusion, has taken the spot away from Jan Hoffman to put him back down to 6th. So Chin up in 5th place, and he's trying to run him down.
It said that Joshua Chin had started outside the top 10. No, actually a 7th position start. He's going to look to the inside coming through here at Sunset Bend. Chin's going to make the move him up into the 4th position now as he gets by Stanley. Little overcooked by Stanley going into the braking zone of turn number 8.
Marshall Stanley is certainly having some serious issues on the track right now. Almost lost the car a couple times, then overshot the Sunset Bend. Definitely not what you want to do if you want to maintain positions. Cone's getting kicked up by Josh Chin as he gets so close to the back of that racetrack, or right to the edge. And well, Stanley, now he's going to have to focus on Jan Hoffman behind, because I don't think he's going to have quite the speed he needs to run down Joshua Chin, who's just absolutely pulling away. Chin now up to 4th place, as it's looking to be probably about a 3-car scrap for about the top 5, the final top 5 position behind them between Marshall Stanley, Jan Hoffman, and Riley Thompson, who again, Thompson now looking to recover.
Well, what do you think? Potential damage for the number 25 of Marshall Stanley? I can't really pick it up in what we can see on the screen here, but he has had some contact on the racetrack. I wonder if he's damaged the car somewhat. He's been having a bit of trouble getting that car to turn in.
But nothing that I can see on the car myself, so whatever, if there is any damage, it would definitely be invisible to the naked eye, it would seem, as well, Riley Thompson just made a spot on Jan Hoffman, so Hoffman had to drop down another spot, overtook the Sunset Bend, and he lost down, so he's now back to 7th place. Battle on for 9th as well, so a lot of battles all across the track. This one between Josh Baird and Jamie Wilson. Wilson trying to continue to make his way up spots. Jamie Wilson, he is on an absolute tear right now. Started 20th place. He's made up 11 spots, and he's back. He's now up and into the top 10. So looking to maybe run down Henry Bennett. And now the 007, Henry Bennett, he does have damage on that front wing.
I feel that Jamie Wilson very comfortable with the car right now. You said started deeper in the field back in 20th, has worked his way now into the top 10. And this is when you go to work on a driver. If you can get close enough, yeah, you potentially make that overtake. But again, this track is so tough. If you keep that pressure up, eventually you're going to get that driver to crack and make that one minor mistake. You can do it so many times. Sunset Bend, you don't turn in early enough, you find yourself pushing wide, and we've seen a number of drivers have trouble coming through turn 1 and 2 as well, Nolan. A little minor mistake here opens the door for the driver behind.
Just those little mistakes is all it takes to, have it kick a door open. A racing driver, they'll often tell you it does not take much. If they see a gap, well, they're gonna go for it, whether you like it or not. So you got to make sure that you can always be on your toes when it comes to defensive driving, to make sure that you can be able to cover every single type of line as best as you possibly can. And that's what Wilson is trying to do. He's definitely pulling a significant gap over Josh Baird now, trying to run down Henry Bennett. Is really kind of in no man's land. He's about 1.1 back to Baird. It is 1.2 up to Henry Bennett. So, Wilson, he is definitely trying to close in that gap, and he's certainly being able to do so now that he doesn't have to worry about driving defensive from Josh Baird.
20 laps into a 100-lap contest. What I find very interesting right now, Joshua Chin, who started 7th, running 4th, fast lap of the race of 55.159 last time by. He was 0.2 of a second quicker than Robert Grosser. Yeah, he's back by 10 seconds right now, but he is chipping away. Great run here for Joshua Chin in that number 93 machine. P4 in the Team Camara car, and just good lap after good lap being laid down here by Joshua Chin.
And look behind them, cars fanning out across the track as one of those lap cars, Ryan Hellier, tries to get out of the way from 23rd place, wanting absolutely no part of the battle that he sees approaching behind him. So Riley Thompson is now having to worry a little bit on Marshall Stanley. Stanley had a really bad couple laps there, but he is definitely getting that power down now. It seems like whatever issues he's had, well, he's sorted them because he's still closing on to the back of Riley Thompson. Thompson did manage to make a look around Jan Hoffman as well. So this is going to be one of those fights to watch. It's going to be the battle for that final top 5 position. Throttling down through turn number 2 for the 21st time today already. A 5th this way complete. This one is just flying by.
Yeah, riding on board with Marshall Stanley there for a bit in that Freem machine as they work their way through turn 5, 6, and 7 through Le Mans. Good run down. Here comes the 25 of Stanley, getting the thing rolled. Rolling that center onto the straightaway. Let's see what he can use here with the draft as they come all the way down Ullman straight to turn number 8. Stanley in that number 25. Last time by a couple of tenths of a second slower than Riley Thompson, trying to reel him in here. That's going to be the battle for 5th if Stanley indeed does arrive on the rear wing.
We'll have to wait and see just what this fight will be able to make. Right now, Stanley's still not nearly close enough to make the look that he needs to turn 1, but that gap, it is closing significantly. So Stanley trying to work it out. He's trying to work his way up there. They're about half a second separate of them now. That's definitely going to be closing. So, well, Marshall Stanley having a really good go of things right now. Now the gap down to 0.4 of a second, and still kind of fluctuating a little bit. Now it's back up to half a second. So having about 4 to 5 tenths. The gap is right now between 6th and 5th place. On the racetrack, trouble behind him. Jan Hoffman, more troubles for him. Jan Hoffman taking a big spin to that 05 machine. Down there, I think that was turn number 4 that he dipped it in and might have clipped the grass on the entry to the corner, or he just lost on the braking on his own.
Part of the race, like I said, rolling through so much corner speed here, trying to get to the outside of the track in turn number 2. Turns in. Looks like a little bit off the track, potentially coming through the turn 2 and 3. No, able to control it. He'll work his way through turns number 4 now. Is this where he went off here? Yeah, you can see that. Oh, that's all it is, Nolan. You drop the left side Firestones into the grass, trying to throttle back on power, and the car snaps around pretty darn quickly.
We're going to take one more look at this one for the spin from Jan Hoffman that was down at about turn number 4. Actually, check my math on that one. About turn number 5. I kind of can't count corners very well. So, Jan Hoffman for Vortex Sim Racing. Well, his strife will continue. So, Hoffman definitely not having the race he wanted to have. And you see, there's a little bit of grass right on the right side that's actually on the track. And it looks like he dipped the tires into that. And that is all it takes to get the car unsettled. Luckily, it was a very harmless spin, not in front of anybody else. So, he is going to be able to have get that car all rolling again. And still, Thompson trying to maintain that gap against Marshall Stanley. The gap now up to about 6 tenths. So, still with that draft. But Thompson, he's trying to pull the gap, but he just can't seem to break away from Stanley.
Indeed, and I don't think that Hoffman even lost a spot there. He was able to get that car righted and back around, so Hoffman continues to run in the 7th position, that 05 machine. Again, a little update on Joshua Chin. We're at on the quarter mark of this race. Chin now just 8.9 seconds back, another 0.2 faster a lap as he's trying to reel in Lucas LaVille first. He's about 4 seconds back and about a tenth quicker that last time by. Chin continues to work his way forward. Remember, we do have pit stops coming sooner or later. We'll see what happens and who executes those stops the best. But Joshua Chin, winner from Fontana in the number 93 machine, the Team Camara car, is one of the drivers to watch here, P4.
Yes, indeed. So that is definitely going to be the gap to watch. 8.7 seconds is the gap right now on the track. So Joshua Chin, he's definitely going to be trying to look to close in however he can here. And, well, he is definitely looking to be on a complete tear right now. So can Chin manage to make something work on Robert Grosser? That is going to be the big question. 8.7 at the line. And it wasn't just 0.2 quicker that time. That last lap, 0.4, nearly half a second. So Joshua Chin really on a mission right now, trying to reel in a podium position.
And he goes purple again here on lap number 24. A tremendous run for Chin. And again, he's being smart. He's putting down really good laps, hitting his marks like he needs to. He doesn't have any pressure from behind as well. That's always key, is it not? 2.9 seconds ahead of Riley Thompson in the 39. So Chin's not driving in the mirrors. He's looking forward. He's just hitting all his marks and slowly closing up on Lucas Laville. A lot quicker than Grosser, just a little bit quicker than Laville. He had about 1.5 last time by, just 4.9 back now.
Yes, indeed. So 4.9 back. So this is it's going to be an interesting one to see, just exactly what's going to have to make of this. So, like you said, just 4.9 seconds back from Lucas Laville. So this is going to be a battle for third place, which no doubt is going to be coming up strong here. However, Joshua Chin was actually 0.4 slower than Lucas Laville on the last lap. So it seems like some laps are beginning to fluctuate here with how the times tend to come down. And I wonder if lap traffic is beginning to play a factor to this, because obviously you do have lap cars in various areas around the track now. So potential lap traffic could play into a factor here.
The way things are playing out, though, right now for Robert Grosser, if there is lap traffic, he's doing a pretty good job. The Vortex Sim Racing driver, three-time champion in the series, 63 starts here in the Classic IndyCar Series. The veteran Grosser leading the way. Still 2.7 seconds is the lead. Last lap for at least that I'm seeing here, of 55.315. It's his best lap of the race, Nolan. He's actually settling in. He's not doing the same 55 flats as Joshua Chin, but he's slowly getting quicker and quicker and being very consistent. 55.315 that last lap for Robert Grosser.
One thing worth noting as well, though, is that Robert Grosser's lead, it was about 5 seconds at about lap 2 or 3 of this race. It's down to 2.3 seconds now. So that battle for the lead might be on here soon in about another 10 or so laps, assuming pit cycles or lap traffic don't throw wrenches into the works. So that just goes to show you that you can have the run really early on, but you're going to have to back off later on into your stint. And that seems to be what Grosser's having to do now. Looking back to Henry Bennett, who's still trying to reel in Jamie Wilson for 8th place, while also trying to fend off. Well, he doesn't have much trying to fend off except Josh Baird, who is a good 2 seconds behind him.
Listen, let's say things are going decently right now for Henry Bennett. It wasn't a number of laps ago when he was backwards sliding on the outside of turn number 9, almost got into the wall. So the fact that he's still running in the top 10, currently 9th position, is solid. He's doing the same lap times as the leader, 55.3s. Last time by, though, a 55.962. Going to find a little more speed here right now. He's still about 4 seconds ahead of Josh Baird, as you said, but only 1.4 seconds behind Jamie Wilson, and was quicker 0.2 of a second last time by. We may see a good battle here for 8th position.
Indeed, so this is going to be something to look out for as well. So Henry Bennett still trying to reel his way down on to Jamie Wilson. About 1.1 seconds now, function between 1.1 and 1.2. 1.13 is the exact gap right now as they enter the back straightaway once more. So, again, times are beginning to come on down. Everything's started to, pick back up. Some battles starting to close back in. Another battle that's pretty darn close is actually just a little ways behind them. This is Matt Molnar still trying to have a go at Josh Baird. This is going to be for the final spot in the top 10.
I like that scrap right now. Molnar, again, we've had a couple of issues with him, but he's, again, just like Bennett, still hanging around here in the top 10, gets a good run out of the final corner. Molnar looking at Josh Baird, had it tucked to the inside, thinking about the outside. Baird holding on to the spot. They'll roll through turn number 1 here. Big, wide run out of the corner for Baird. Molnar right there, and here comes actually Ethan Agan as well. Agan in the number 20, making it a 3-driver battle for the last couple positions in the top 10.
So Ethan Agan looking to maybe make up another spot here, or another 2 spots. Might be hoping that these 2 drivers will take each other out ahead of him. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen this in the race. Remember, Henry Bennett squeezed, I think it was Molnar actually, against the tire barriers in the Sunset Bend. And well, actually just before we even reached lap number 10. And now Molnar with a beautiful run down Sunset Bend, going to look to the inside, will make the move. He is going to dive it up the inside. Can make that work side by side through the apex. Josh Baird way to the outside. Look out for the tires, but that's what's going to be done. And Baird going to lose out on that other spot. Ethan Agan able to get a great drive off the corner, and Henry Bennett is on the lane, so pit stops are getting out of the way. The question is, was this a scheduled stop? It looks like it might have been.
It was a classic pass from Molnar down the inside, getting to the inside of the track. It's a hard braking corner in there to turn number 8, and he was able to get to the inside, went right to the apex. As you said, Henry Bennett now into pit lane, but as that happened, the driver on the outside overcooked it a little bit, and that's why he lost another spot. That was Josh Baird, allowed Ethan Agan to get in there as well. But here we are, 31 laps in the books. Henry Bennett, one of the first drivers to take service here on pit lane.
10.1 seconds for Mr. Bennett to get that car off and rolling. Looks like he might have gotten a new front wing as well. There is the gaps between Robert Grosser and Joni Kaihan, and you saw actually lost a good second on just the last lap alone, so that gap back up to about 3.4 seconds. So your battle for the lead seems to really be kind of switching back and forth, but the much closer battle is actually going to be for P number 2, Joni Kaihan, and not safe at all. He's got Lucas Laville right behind him by about 0.8 of a second. And you see lap traffic just up the road as well. Jos Vandeven braking really early for the Sunset Bend to let this battle for P2 by.
What I think I find interesting, Nolan, is the fact that both Grosser and Kaihan are really starting to get their lap times down to where they need to be. They're low or high 55.1s, 55.194 for Grosser, 55.127 for Kaihan. And they were up there in the 55.3s and 55.2s for a while. They're finally getting down. But both drivers behind him, like you said, Lucas Laville and Josh Chin, they're at 55 flats now. Same for Kaihan. He now does a 55.091. Leaders really starting to settle in. Of course, the fuel load coming down a little. These cars will be a little quicker, a little lighter in some of the corners. I think both Grosser and Kaihan up front are actually doing a tremendous job finding more speed late in this run.
Yes, absolutely. Doing a great job finding the speed that they need to keep things working. This is the battle for what we believe is going to be net P10 on the racetrack once everything cycles through for the pit stops. And it looks like it might have been a very early stop for Henry Bennett because nobody else appears to have come down in the past little while. So Ethan Agan, now he is trying to reel in Matt Molnar. Molnar, getting a bit wide next to the corners. That might have just messed him up for Le Mans Curve. In fact, it has. That's going to be a great drive off for Ethan Agan. No doubt is going to make that move work. And look at this. We're about to go 3 wide to get around lap traffic. So it's a very wide section of the racetrack, thankfully, not down to the corner. So Agan now going to be able to defend on the inside. Late braking, though, from Molnar around the outside. Josh Baird might be looking to fight back, but he just can't find the speed that he needs on the inside of the corner. Molnar now, he's going to have the one with the draft as they throttle their way down the pit straight. It's going to be a great drive. Agan way on the defensive. Here comes Molnar with a run on the outside. Who's going to win out in turn number 1? Side by side through the apex. This might get close on the exit as they throttle turn number 2. Dissing into the gravel goes Molnar. Still side by side to turn 2. Molnar takes it back.
What a tremendous group of corners that was, Nolan. Unbelievable. Obviously, Molnar having trouble coming through turn number 6. Got turn 5. Ended up being all up and over the curb in turn 6. Agan took a great run out of turn number 7. Went way wide using the track limits. Was able to get a good run down. Had the inside of the corner. But, man, Molnar coming back like he did. Coming through Sunset Bend. Down into turn number 1. The outside run gave him the inside of turn number 2. That was a tremendously fun lap to watch. And these classic IndyCar drivers putting on an absolute show here on the modified course. And look how it's stacking things back up as well. Molnar 8th, Agan 9th, Josh Baird, Dan Hoffman, and Andrew Wood all coming into the fight here as well.
That's the one thing about fighting side by side with another driver, especially through higher speed corners where you have to lift off that much earlier. It does tend to back you up into some of the other drivers. So Andrew Wood and Clark Archer, those are 2 drivers that are going to be looking to maybe make something work as they can hopefully close into this fight, which is still going on for actually 8th place on the track right now. Of course, once pit cycles cycle through, likely Henry Bennett might be able to close that gap in. I would like to maybe turn our attention a bit further up the road, though, to P number 3 right now, because Lucas Laville is really closing the gap to Joni Kaihan in about 0.6 of a second right now. So definitely that is a battle that could be looking to shape up here. It was actually 0.3 at the start of the lap.
Yeah, Lucas Laville, one of the Vortex Sim Racing team drivers, finally now down into the 54s. A couple of drivers have got into the 54s, both Laville and Cayenne, actually. Grosser has not yet done it, neither has Chin. So this battle potentially heating up now for second position. We'll see if they continue to close up. Laville just a half a second back last time. You can see as they come through Sunset Bend, it's about 6 car lengths as they work their way out of the corner here right now. But both these drivers now down into the 54s. They're the 2 fastest drivers on the racetrack here working lap number 36.
So once again, working lap number 36 now. Kayanen still on the power and still controlling second place. They are continuing to close in the gap because just up the road, you'll see Liam Quinn and the second car ahead of them. That's your race leader. So this gap to the race leader is again closed in by a very significant margin, just under 2 seconds now. This is the closest it has really been since lap number 1. So it's going to be one of those key factors to see what will be able to happen here in this one today. We'll have to continue to wait and see just what will happen in this battle, but it looks like your battle for the race lead could be looking to heat up here pretty soon.
I think the interesting thing for Robert Grosser is he's got open racetrack in front of him. He doesn't have that rabbit to chase. Laville, of course, is trying to chase after Cayenne. He's got that guy in front of him. He's pushing a little bit harder every corner, trying to see what he can do. Cayenne, though, into pit lane. Nolan, we got a driver in pit lane. It is Yone Cayenne potentially.
And Robert Grosser down to the lane as well. So Robert Grosser to the lane, and oh, look at this, might be making contact into the pit lane. What in the world are you doing? Andrew Wood coming out and nearly wiping out Robert Grosser. My goodness me. See if we can maybe get a look at that one from an onboard shot if we can, because that was very scary coming into the pit lane, and we're nearly getting cleaned out. Imagine that if your battle for the race lead had been completely wiped out by an accident in the pit lane.
You know for sure that Grosser's watching it and seeing it happen. He probably cannot believe it. You can see him try to pull to the right a little bit of contact. I don't see any damage at all to the car, but Grosser must have been just swearing in the helmet. Can't believe what happened there. Again, 3-time series champion coming into pit lane here on lap number 36 for the first of what you would expect to be 2 pit stops here. If we're going to go 37 laps in, he'll get back out onto the track here when he can. But man, what a close call for Robert Grosser when he comes in for his first pit stop of the night.
Well, all of this has promoted Lucas Laville through to the lead of the race, and he is seeming to go long on his stint because it's been about a couple laps now since Grosser came down, and Laville still running out in front as we continue to get closer to the halfway point. And I agree, they're going to have to make at least 2 pit stops, maybe potentially 3 if they can't save enough, because you're not going to be able to make it to the end of the race if you pit on lap number 38. So it's just the way these fuel tanks, we believe, are limited in these races. So that's the one thing that, again, we are going to have to keep a very close eye on. Will Laville come down this time, or is he going to keep it out one more lap? No, Lucas Laville going to be bringing it down to the lane. He brought that stint long, and Joshua Chin, second place, he's also down to the lane. Robert Grosser approaching the long curve now. Where are they going to come out in relation to him?
And indeed, so Grosser comes in lap number 36. That's lap 72 for the next stop. He'll be clean to go after they get that second pit. It's Bennett that I'm kind of worried about. Henry Bennett, he pitted on lap number 30. Yeah, he's going to be able to go 35, so he could probably go then to lap 65 and then be able to get in clean. We'll see if Bennett's able to save enough fuel. Grosser, as you said, though, working his way out here at Sunset Bend. Will he take the lead when they come back around? Grosser watching, of course, down pit lane to see whether or not the drivers coming out are going to beat him out. Grosser, though, no, looking pretty good through turn number 1.
No, he hasn't. Lucas Laville still in the lead and just out in front of him, and holy cow! Big was calling. Laville runs it wide. Battle for the lead is on and almost making contact through turn number 2. Still side by side as they exit turn number 3, down through 4, down to 5, and Laville having to yield, overshooting the corner. Lucas Laville shooting himself in the foot on the pit exit right there. Had that lead made, and now he is down in second place, but he's got a fantastic slipstream. The battle for the lead is on.
Those are the teammates at Vortex Sim Sports, Grosser and Laville. Like you said, Laville just overcooked turn number 2. An inside out for Grosser. He still has the spot coming into Sunset Bend. No move there for Laville at the end of the straightaway. Not able to get the run. Grosser, of course, with the tires a little bit warmer, 1 lap extra, and he rolls his way down. You can see how those warmer Firestone tires are working. He's pulling away down here to turn number 1. I thought that Grosser was clear when he came out of this particular What happened? Another car just coming out of pit lane. He'll be right in front of Grosser.
And Laville runs it wide again, so the door was open for Joni Kaihinen, who has just picked up second place. So a lot of traffic jams taking place on the exit of the pits. That's one thing we never really managed to talk about earlier in the broadcast here, Rob, was that pit exit. It can be, well, shall we say, inconvenient to the traffic coming by at speed, because they're going to have to back off and make way for the traffic exiting the pit lane, because it's going to be so hard to really judge that. Now, though, Kaihinen, after a mistake from Laville, has put himself into second place, and he's clear now to run down the race leader. 8/10 separating first and second place, and another 3/10 back to third.
1, 2, 3, 4 holding station from where they were before the pit stops. You would have thought that Laville had a chance to leapfrog over Kaihinen, but just the issue he had coming into turn number 2 on those cold tires, wasn't able to hold the spot away from Grosser, but no. One of the toughest parts of this racetrack is right where the drivers come out to pit lane when they exit. It's right at the exit point of turn number 1. These drivers are full song coming through there, and of course, then the transition from the right side of the track back to the left side to set up for turn number 2. It's hard to do when you've got guys in there with cold tires just coming out of the pits. That was the trouble there, and I'm going to give Grosser some props. Somehow he was able to feed his way through the chaos and come out with the lead right now. But Kaihinen and Laville still right there. 1.1 second separate your top 3.
Well, one thing's for sure about this whole mess, unlike you don't usually we'll see in the pit stop cycle, especially in open wheel racing, it can actually tend to split up battles, and we have to wait a while for the close back in. That pit stop cycle actually helped to close it back in, believe it or not. We saw Robert Grosser, who pitted and then actually came out behind Laville, and the only reason why Laville is not in the lead right now is because he made that big mistake over in turn 2, and he made the exact same mistake a lap later to help him lose out on second place. So Kaihinen getting that back and stepped a little bit off the corner, so Kaihinen might be struggling with the throttle a little bit. You really want to make sure you don't overstep yourself on that throttle, because this car, if you don't respect this car, well, let me tell you, it is going to come back and just slap you right across the face, and I've had it happen to me so many times. It's a difficult car to drive, so the fact that they're managing to race like this, it really is something.
No, Nolan, you mentioned it, and we talked about it at the start of the broadcast, where this track is tough to pass on. There's a couple of opportunities, but you simply can't make a mistake. And especially when you're running against the quality of competition in this classic IndyCar series, when you make a mistake, there's going to be someone behind you to capitalize, and that's exactly what happened. Laville had the trouble coming out. Had he been able to keep the car to the inside, he'd potentially be your leader right now. Grosser took advantage of it, and Kaihinen took advantage of it. Top 3 drivers still running where they are, and I'm still watching Joshua Chin. He's by himself on the racetrack, and he was faster than all 3 of the leaders last time by. 55.1 for Grosser. He has not yet got into the 54s. Probably a 55.6, a 55.5, 55.7 for Laville, 55.501 for Joshua Chin. He is only 5 seconds back at Laville now. There's Chin there in that Team Camara entry, the winner from Fontana. P4 right now. I think we're going to have a 4-driver battle before this is all said and done.
You saw on the gas there, lap number 40, 1.4 seconds faster than the leaders. That, or at least 1.4 seconds faster than third place. That is an absolutely massive margin. So Joshua Chin, like we said earlier, he is on a mission right now, trying to find his way up to the leaders who are still running 1, 2, 3. You see him right at the back of the shot, ducking his way around one of those lap cars, Ethan Hagen. So it's going to be a 4-car battle for the lead, sure enough. And Joni Kaihinen continuing to close in that gap. It's about 8/10, remember, a little while ago. Down to 3/10 now. He's reeled in half a second. And sure enough, this might be where that battle for the lead is going to be coming up. And we're not even halfway through this race yet, and already we're seeing these thrilling fights for the lead. And now you see Robert Grosser moving to the right across the track, trying to break the draft.
This has been a tremendous race already, not even the halfway point, as you said. Joni Kaihinen right there in the slipstream. Going to go to the inside. He'll duck to the inside, not there under the braking. Grosser closing into the inside of the racetrack. Pulls all the track on the exit over that bump in Sunset Bend, as we talked about, holding about a 3-car length lead coming out of turn number 9. What a tremendous battle. These top 3 drivers. We got to give props as well to Lucas Laville. We actually didn't do that in terms of one thing. He had the best pit stop. He was able to get in and out quicker than Grosser, and it's all about that in-lap, pit stop itself, and that quick out-lap as well. It was only the out-lap, the little minor issue in turn number 2 that stopped Laville from leading this race, but he was the quickest into this pit stop, and he was the quickest out of as well. Good run for Lucas Laville. We got to do it all again still. We're still one more pit stop to go. And these top 3 drivers are putting on an absolute show here at Sebring.
Grosser able to put another 310s on Kaihinen. Now Kaihinen having to focus more on the defense from Luke LaVille. And one thing that might help LaVille in that pit cycle as well was the fact that he did stay out a couple laps long, which did allow him to, well, to put it quite simply, it allowed him to go ahead and pick up some extra time in that clean air. That's what's allowed him to, pick up that time that he needed as well. Wasn't enough though to clearly clear. Grosser came out probably just a few feet in front of her, being honest. So I'm gonna be excited to see us. Kaihinen running off into the sand just about the exit of turn 2. Oh, into the grass. Heads up for Kaihinen. Managed to keep the car under control, but getting into the grass, a bit of a close call. That's not what you want to be doing if you want to maintain second place.
Yeah, you wonder whether Kainen's starting to get a bit frustrated. He got so close to Grosser there, was into a position to potentially make that run down into turn number 8 to try to take the lead away for the first time, because other than the pit stops, Grosser has led flag to flag so far. Kainen really starting to push. And again, one of the places it's important on this racetrack, as we know, is getting through turn number 2 and 3 correctly. If you can get out of that hairpin with some good speed, really it leads all the way back down over to turn number 7. He's pushing as hard as he can. A minor issue over in turn number 3, dropping a wheel, as you said. The gap now stretching out to almost a full second for Robert Grosser over Joni Kainen.
Indeed. So now, almost that full second is up, about 6/10 down. It doesn't seem like Grosser has the speed that he needs right now in that first sector, because that is where they gain all their time, because they gain 2/10 in just the first 3 corners alone. So Grosser really struggling on the first half of the racetrack, and then the second half is really where he begins to pull that gap out again. And, we were talking about Joshua Chin, beginning to realize, maybe we'll see this here on the long run down, and they see there's Grosser looking back to the inside of the track, and well, you're going to be able to see when this, well, never mind, not quite for this one, but Chin is definitely close. He is definitely closing in still. The gap now, there you can see him right in the back, still in the same camera shot, just 4 seconds back, and Chin still trying to reel him in.
One of the things that's really interesting, first and foremost, they're going to be rolling up pretty soon. You saw there was 3 cars, slower cars up front. This will be interesting to see how Grosser and Kainen and LaVille handle all 3 of those drivers. But if you look at lap times right now, Robert Grosser is the slowest of the top 5. It's the consistency he's been able to use. His best lap of 55.162, not yet into the 54s. It's a 54.9 for Kainen, 54.9 for LaVille, 54.853 for Chin. He's 3/10 quicker on his fastest lap. Riley Thompson, P5, he's actually got a faster outright lap than Robert Grosser as well. It's just that Grosser has been so consistent, has not put a wheel wrong as of yet, and that's why he still has a half a second advantage.
And there you can see that purple car right in the background, that purple and white car. That is Joshua Chin. That shows you, 4 seconds might sound like a lot, but that's not close at all. That showed you right there just how close he really was. So he is definitely, he's got them in their mirror, and he's definitely going to be seeing red pretty soon here if he can get around. Or maybe if Kaihinen, with that very red car, Lucas LaVille swap around, he might see red a little bit earlier. So, and like you said, Grosser's got consistency, but the thing is, half of a race is about the consistency. You can get in the fast laps as much as you want, but if you don't have the consistency, you have to back them up. You're not going to be able to get anywhere, because it might be good for qualifying, won't be good for the race. Grosser is very, very consistent with his race pace so far. That's what's really helped him, but he has just had an absolutely terrible lap. A quarter of a second now as we run down the Ullman Straight. Once again, going to be ducking around Hans Pitkinen, who is definitely slowed up to allow the lead lap traffic through, and Kaihinen not able to make that look, but he is definitely within striking distance.
No doubt about this. So you said one magic lap. You can put 1 lap in, that's fantastic, and it gets the job done in qualifying, but it's not enough for what you need in a race setting. You've got to be able to put those laps down on a consistent basis. Right now, though, Grosser's not turning the best laps. He's fallen back to a 55.438, a 55.323 for Kainen, but they are having a bit of trouble with some of the slower cars. I think that Grosser potentially got caught up coming through turn number 2 and 3 behind a slower car last time by. They had to make the move on the Ullman Straight as well. You can see how close Joni Kainen has got right now here, that number 77 machine. Kainen within a couple of car lengths. Let's see what happens this time. They'll roll onto the straightaway. Right to the inside of the track goes Grosser. Kainen's going to stay on the outside. Let's see what happens. They work their way down. I love that shot from the back. Here they come again. Grosser's going to have to come back across the racetrack. Still going to be about 4 or 5 car lengths. And that looks to be a pretty good lap there, Nolan, for Grosser, as he's held that advantage. Got to be 3 or 4 car lengths now out of turn number 9.
Well, while this battle continues to shape up, we would like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's broadcast, Virtual Race Car Engineer. Virtual Race Car Engineer is a software package that includes the setup developer tool and the Virtual Race Car Engineer, which assist both virtual and real auto racing drivers and the chassis setup of their respective race cars. Created from more than 20 years of real-world and sim racing experience and vetted by actual motorsport engineers, so there's something for you. The setup developer tool walks the user through a step-by-step process of creating and customizing your very own personalized baseline race setup. It does so by asking simple questions about the car type, track type, and behavior of the car on track. Choosing from the menu of possible responses, the user describes the car and setup developer tool offers setup changes for each step in the process, ultimately resulting in a personalized baseline setup. The Virtual Race Car Engineer further fine-tunes the baseline setup to get the most out of the car fast. Offering whole lap and corner-specific advice, VRCE will get the very best out of your setup. In the process, the driver tailors the setup to his individual needs and feel. The end result is a comfortable, reliable, and fast race setup ready to challenge for top positions. Both the setup developer tool and Virtual Race Car Engineer can be found at www.virtualracecarengineer.com. 52, around lap number 52 now. We're just past the halfway point.
I like it how this race is shaken down. Of course, we'll expect stops probably somewhere around lap 70, maybe to lap 75, potentially earlier for some of the drivers. But what a tremendous battle we've got going right now. Joni Kajanen continues to put the pressure on. They're going to work their way through some lap traffic. I like Grosser there, Nolan, using the lap car to get the run down. A little bit of a draft coming down the long Ullman straight. He still holds about a 3 car lengths lead over Jonen. Joshua Chin still 4.7 seconds back. He actually is having some trouble potentially slowing up. 55.4 last time by. Grosser actually quicker by a couple of tenths on that last lap.
Like we lap traffic, you got to remember lap traffic is definitely going to be a factor. You can see one of those lap cars right behind him, so listening, it was some difficulties with the lap traffic. And well, Chin going to have some more lap traffic ahead that he's going to have to work with, so he's going to have to hopefully, get through that all clean and safe, because he has definitely wanted to go for that podium position from all the pace that he's put in early on in the race. Looks like the battle might close in a bit more from the lead here, though, as Robert Grosser not with the best run off of the Le Mans curve. That one would go to Joni Kajanen, who's still trying to reel him in. But now you saw Grosser was able to stick ahead. He's got that draft from Andrew Wood right ahead of them.
The thing about this racetrack is, lap traffic's obviously going to play a role, but it's where you catch them. If you catch them coming into turn number 2 and 3 into the hairpin, you're going to be behind them all the way over to turn number 7. In fact, all the way over probably till you get down the straightaway. You catch them somewhere else coming out of turn number 9, even getting a chance to dive to the inside of turn 1. When you catch right here in this particular part of the racetrack, you get a lap car here. You can see he's pulling out of the way. Tremendous job for that driver to get out of the way of the leaders, because that is where you can stack things up. And look what's happened. They got behind him going into turn number 1 and 2. Maybe a second separating first, second, and third. Now this fight back on here right now with 44 laps to go, probably 46 laps to go now.
Well, Grosser also locked up going into turn number 2 and was nearly run over by Joni Kajanen. So a mistake there for Grosser, one of the first we've seen all race, but it shows that nobody is immune, especially not the race leader. Kajanen continuing to pile on the pressure, really trying to make it work. Big bobble there from the 77 machine as they crossed over that bump for the transition from the asphalt to the concrete. So that's one thing they got to look out for as well. Is got to make sure that they're really careful over that bump. We saw some of those early race incidents, and now with just about 46 laps to go, it's going to continue to ramp up with that pressure. Grosser still trying to find some speeds and continue to pull that gap, but it's just not going to happen at this point. He's not going to be able to really shake Kajanen and LaVille unless they have some kind of an incident. Now look at how close LaVille is as they continue to throttle their way through, down back to the long curve to the Ullman straight. But Grosser was able to pull a significant gap there as they cross over the long curve, got a much better speed.
Yeah, trouble there for Robert Grosser coming out of the straightaway there. A big wiggle, kind of a tank slapper as the car got away from him a little bit. Look at things stacking up here right now. Again, Kajanen looking to the inside. LaVille right there. Joshua Chin to within 3.7 seconds of the leader, just 2.8. Now back to Laville. Chin is most definitely coming. 55 laps down. This is an absolutely tremendous race here at Sebring. Grosser has not put a wheel wrong yet, had a couple of minor bobbles, but he has been able to hold everyone off. The only time he lost the lead was coming into pit lane. Almost got taken out by Andrew Wood actually in pit lane as he tried to get into his box. But right now he is still having to hold back a charging Joni Kayanen, who has put the pressure on corner after corner, lap after lap. These drivers will be mentally exhausted when they're done the 100 laps here today. Man, this is just absolutely thrilling racing.
3/10 and closing fast. Kayanen has that draft, and now look at Grosser weaving back across the track, trying to break it. Quarter of a second now, and getting into the grass a little bit was Kayanen kicking up the dirt on the outside of the racetrack. Ever since that first pit cycle, this has been the closest battle on track. It just goes to show you just how intense this has been, because every little mistake, it's caused them to close on in, and you can tell Grosser, he can get the speed he needs to try to break away, but he's got to find some cleaner laps there on a much bigger streak. Otherwise, it just is not going to happen. Deeper on the brakes was Grosser, but he's locked up, and Kayanen again, nearly running over. Kayanen cut it one really tight, kicking up a cone up along with the grass over at turn number 3.
Look who's coming into the fray here pretty soon. Joshua Chin in that number 93, trying to get on up into this battle as well. On board now with Kayanen, getting a good run out of turn number 7. He'll work his way down the back straight. You can see the draft not pulling him close enough, grabbing 6th gear, gonna get it all the way out to the top of the revs, down into the braking zone of turn number 8. Let's see who's got it on the brakes. He closes up to within about a car and a half. So does Laville. What a great run here for both Laville and Kayanen, continuing to keep the pressure here on Grosser. Nolan, this is what we're talking about. Tremendous battle. It's all about keeping the pressure on, right? You want to pressure that driver in front of you. Show a nose here. Get to the inside of the track. Try to see if they can make a mistake. Driver spinning into turn number 2.
That was Clark Archer, actually, that lost it on the exit of turn number 1 all on his own and nearly collected your battle for the lead. So that likely checked things up as well. So, my goodness, going to keep things with the lead battle. It was, of course, a solo car spin. Never hit anything, so we are going to keep things with this lead battle, which is continuing to just ramp up. And, you know, at this point, Kayanen, he's really applying on the pressure. I think the pressure's starting to get to Grosser. He's been making more and more mistakes, particularly down into turn number 2. Takes their line a bit wide and then walks it up into turn number 2. That's been a very common occurrence recently. So Grosser's making more and more mistakes. It's only going to be a matter of time for one of those mistakes costs him dearly. He's going to have to try to find to get his head in the game and maybe focus up a little bit more. Kayanen still on the back end and definitely trying to pile on that pressure. All the while, your last week winner, Joshua Chin, only 2.75 seconds back now. So he is also closing into the fray.
Now watching how Grosser handles this time through 2 and 3, and that's pretty impressive. Here's a veteran driver of this classic IndyCar series. The guy's got 63 starts, or he's won 5 races. He'd love to get win number 6, but this pressure that he's been putting on from Kayanen has been absolutely relentless. It's not like Grosser's been able to pull out, even getting through lap traffic. He's not been able to use the lap traffic as a pick. He's not been able to give himself more room whatsoever. Kayanen just has been anywhere within 2, 3 to 4 car lengths all race long. 59 laps. We're probably around, I want to say, 10 laps or so from our final pit stop of the run. We know that Grosser was pretty good in the pits. We know that Laville was as well. He's a multi-time race winner. 8 victories here in the Classic IndyCar Series for Laville. Here comes a challenge, though, from Kayanen. Nolan, here we go.
Look to the inside of turn 1, and then gets it onto the dirt on the exit of turn 1, so not able to make that move just yet. That gap closed out to just 1/10 of a second, the closest it has been ever since Grosser took the lead back. Now back up to 4/10 of a second, so still Kayanen not able to close it in, and with Joshua Chin closing in, wouldn't it be quite the story if Chin somehow managed to come away and kick things off, and he would be the one to take the lead. He still goes back. You can see him right in the back. That 4th car in shot, that is Joshua Chin when we were looking from the on back. So Chin, he's got this fight well in his mirror. He has definitely got them on his sights. Targets on the back of all 3 of those cars of just about 3/10 of a second. That's been really the average. It's been struggling on once again over the start-finish line, crossing over into lap number 61.
The only thing Nolan Josh was not putting the lap times down that he needs, a 55.3 just a lap ago. He needs more pace right now. Either that or he needs a mistake up front. He needs these drivers to get side by side to battle a little bit. The gap's still about 3 seconds to the leader, now 2.8. Finally, Chin getting things dialed back in. Although a potential driver off the racetrack in the back part of the track, was that Chin that went off in the back part of the track in turn 4 or 5?
No, it was not. Chin is very much still on the track, and he is still pushing hard. Actually, no, check that. He was off the track. Lost the back end and went off into the grass. But we are going to go and take a look at this one. So Joshua Chin, well, he's just throwing that battle for the lead. He's just throwing it away as down through turn number 2. You'll see he goes. Turn 3 and got a little bit throttle happy. That, I think that was just anticipation that got to Joshua Chin. So now the gap back up to 3.6 seconds. We're about 3.7 now, so he's lost a massive amount of time. But with the speed he's getting, he is definitely going to be able to keep it going. And, well, Robert Grosser still holding on to the lead, but only just. They're catching lap traffic again, though. Things are about to get dicey.
And Nolan, first chink in the armor there for Joshua Chin. I was looking back, trying in this particular shot here, and all of a sudden he went off the track, and you said it. Just a little too happy on that throttle coming out of turn number 5. The car got away from him, but you got to give him props because it didn't go around. He was able to get back off the throttle and pedal a little bit, get it back on the racetrack, and there is some off track there that you're not going into the grass, brings it back on. He's now 4.7 seconds back. We've still got a long way to go. 38 laps remain. We got a pit stop still to come. We'll have to do an absolutely massive in lap, get a great stop, and then be absolutely on it on the fresh Firestones when they get back out here again. This fight up front has been tremendous. One thing, though, Lucas Laville in the 29's fallen back a little bit. He's probably about 7, 8, maybe 9 car lengths behind Joni Kynan. So let's just give Kynan a bit of a breather. Right now, he's able to focus on Grosser, knowing he's got almost a full second back to Laville coming in here in 3rd spot.
Kynan with a little bit of a tank slapper off of turn number 3 as well. Might have gotten into the grass a little bit because he shot all over the track and nearly lost it, but he did keep it all steady. So that is allowed that gap to pick up to about 0.7 of a second now. So the gap has again increased back out, but they still have a lot of lap traffic ahead of them. Cars like of Tristan Hauster, Randy Schuming, Jos Vandeven. Those are just three of the cars that they need to focus on in trying to get around before they can really try to focus again for a battle. Lucas Laville, now the gaps are about half a second back to each other, and yet still, this is your closest fight on course.
And none of the drivers up front in the top 4 immune to making mistakes. We've seen issues from Grosser. Kynan, of course, had a tank slapper the last run. We know that Laville's had a little bit of trouble. We saw Chin's near wreck. Behind them, though, let's have a look at the top 10. Riley Thompson now running in the 5th spot. Jamie Wilson started 20th up to 6th. A great run for Jamie Wilson, the number 87. Marshall Stanley in the number 25 and 7th. Henry Bennett, we would expect him to come to pit lane pretty soon. He was in on, I think, lap number 30, so he's been out for quite a while already. 33 laps since the last stop for Bennett. Jan Hoffman now running in the 9th position, and Matt Molnar rounding out the top 10. But indeed, the best battle on the racetrack, thankfully for us, Nolan, because we're calling the battle for the race win. The closest battle is the top 3 drivers right now. Couldn't have scripted this any better for round number 2 of the Classic IndyCar Series here at Sebring. And this is going to be good. We got 30 something laps left, 36 laps to go, 35 laps to go. This is going to be good. Pit stops coming up pretty soon.
Pit stops continue to come up pretty soon. One of the only other battles on track right now is going to be for 6th place. Going to keep our eyes on the leader, but I've been kind of watching Jamie Wilson, who's made up 14 spots at the start of this. Marshall Stanley and Henry Bennett, those are 3 drivers that are scrapped it out for 6th, 7th, and 8th. That battle has actually increased quite a bit now, so they are running very close. All 3 of those cars running under a second from each other as well, just 0.3 back from Wilson to Stanley. And Stanley, remember, he had quite a few problems early in the race, and now he's definitely trying to reel his way into Jamie Wilson.
A great pickup. They're less than a second apart. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th. Wilson in the 87, Stanley in the 25, and Bennett in the 007. So that's a great fight as well. Now, first driver coming into pit lane. Someone has ducked on to the pit lane on driver right, coming into pits to get their second pit stop in. And as I said, from this pit stop, you're clean and green to the end for sure. We were looking around 30 to 35 to 40 laps. I think 38 for Laville. He went deep into the session. Oh, getting caught up behind some slower cars out of turn number 2 and 3.
Lucas Laville almost made his way around Joni Heikkinen. So again, very, very close call. And that nearly took out Robert Grosjean as well. So there was nearly pass with Liddy as well. That's helped to increase this back in. And what has happened again? Hoffman, because he was in the middle of that battle, it looks like, well, check that, I'm looking at the wrong drivers, but that battle for 6th place is all of a sudden broken. I'm not quite sure what in the world happened. But Lucas Laville and Joshua Chin, they might be having another go at it soon because, well, Joshua Chin reeled in 2 seconds with that big next mix-up. So again, lap traffic potentially playing a huge factor in how this race can play out. Now, Luka Lechevic is going to run really wide to allow Joshua Chin through. Chin, now he's on the power again because he realizes he's got another chance.
There's no doubt about it. That played exactly into Chin's plans, what he needed to happen. He had that issue where he almost went off the track in turn number 5 and looped that machine, that Team Camara machine, but he's been running strong since then, and he needed that little bit of a luck to come his way. Getting stacked up behind that lap car over in turn number 2 and 3. Grosser had Kynan all on top of him. Laville was trying to find a way by. They settled back down again, as you can see here on the screen. Still about 3 car lengths for Robert Grosser, who has so far led flag to flag. The only time that he let it go was when he came to pit lane. Otherwise, he has been the guy up front for the entire race. And Joni Kynan's been putting the pressure on. But here comes Lucas Laville. Good run. What's wrong with Kynan? What happened there to Kynan? Slowing up on the straightaway.
Joni Kynan let him go. Just slow it up and let him on through. What happened there? Why? I am honestly befuddled at that one. I don't know what to say to that, but we're going to take a look on board. I can't believe this is with Kynan. And watch this as he just exits, the final corner of Sunset Bend. Watch this, pulls off to the left side and just slows up. Oh, well, potentially you got to remember as well, Rob, there isn't really a firm wall or grass on the inside of Sunset Bend. Might have gotten himself with a slowdown penalty. Could have cut the Sunset Bend just a little bit too tight. So misfortune there for Mr. Joni Kynan, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. It was a slowdown penalty for Kynan to put himself back down in 3rd place, and now he's got a lot of work to do. 2 seconds up now to the leader. He might have to worry about Joshua Chin, who's 9/10 back, but well, now this will allow Lucas Laville now to be the one to challenge Robert Grosser for the lead. 7/10 back now, easier fight for the leader, and now it's a pack of 2.
You know what? For those of you who love watching the 12 hours of Sebring, we'll watch guys come around right against the wall around that corner in that 12-hour classic. It's a different racetrack here in Modified. That's why you have to stay. Yeah, the track is there. The painted white line is there. And as you had said, he just huddled that line a little too much. And man, that's just a minor error. You didn't need to do that. We're playing the timeline here. There's still a pit stop to come. Just a minor error there for Kynan, but that's going to allow Lucas Laville to come through. So really a solid run for Vortex Sim Racing right now. That team runs 1-2 on the racetrack with Robert Grosser and Lucas Laville. Let's keep looking at lap times, though, because another fast one there for Joshua Chin. He turns down a 54.9, this time a 55.158, still 3/10 quicker than the leader, Chin.
3rd place is lost there. That's Joni Kynan.
Who's like, Kynan goes around in turn 3.
Kynan, absolutely disastrous. Well, he's just thrown away this battle for the win. That might have just cost him any kind of chance of going for the race win today. That was a self-made mistake. Locked it up in a turn number 2, actually, and it looped it around in turn 3. You'll see here, watch that left front. Might have been the right front, locking it up, and then watch this, just spins it around, too happy on the throttle, and Sinrod almost tipped the car up and over, actually, as well. Got up on 2 wheels as they cross back over onto the tarmac, but that is absolutely detrimental for Kynan's race, who's dropped back down to about 4th place now. And I'm sorry, but this fight might be over.
Potential trouble. No, Robert Grosser's now into pit lane, seeing that Lucas Laville has gone up to P1. Joshua Chin now into 2nd. It is Grosser into pit lane. No issue with anybody hammering him in pit lane this time. He'll bring that Vortex Sim Sports machine down into the front pit spot. Of course, qualified on pole position. He'll pull away. Nice stop there for Grosser, and he'll pull out of here again. The in-lap's important. The pit stop's important. The outlap may be even more crucial. Nobody around him able to get back on the throttle. Nolan, an incredible run so far for Grosser, and trouble for Kynan. That was so tough to watch. Dropped the wheel on the exit of 2 and 3, and it just seemed like he wanted to make up for that mistake quickly. Pounded on the loud pedal, And at that point, went right around. Tough one for him, man, to fall back where he did now P4.
Lucas Laville still up in first place, or what we believe might be net P2. Question is, they were only 7 tenths apart, and remember, Laville took the last stint long and actually was able to pick up that race lead with some clean air. Did not have the clean air this time, got a little bit checked up from Josh Baird, who's now right behind him on that last lap, so he lost some time there. The question is, was that enough to just put Laville out of the net race lead? So Robert Grosser still out in front. We'll have to wait and see just what we'll be able to make of this one. This is going to be a very, very tough one to call. There really is a lot of time still to be made up, but that time is slowly running out. We're going to be at 25 laps to go here pretty soon, and still one pit stop left to go. Will Laville bring it down this time as they go through the Sunset Bend? Currently on the front straightaway, looking to hug it a bit tighter, but no, staying it out on the racetrack still. So again, Laville taking the same stride as last time and going long.
Well, I like what Lucas Laville is doing here, because he made it, to a certain extent, made it work on that first pit stop. He went a bit longer, clean air, and remember, this car, of course, down on fuel. It's light, it's fast. If he puts together a couple of good laps here right now, he's going to be able to leapfrog over top of his teammate, Robert Grosser. It was the mistake he made last time, Nolan, when he came out on cold tires, overcooked it to turn number 2. All he had to do was run a defensive line and get through 2 and 3, and he would have been the race leader at that point. This pit stop is going to be crucial. He's got a couple of lap cars in front of him. He's going to be able to get a good tow here, potentially close enough, maybe not quite yet. I would not be surprised to see him pit here. He's got so much speed and 2 lap cars in front of him. You do not want to get checked up. It's the open track. It's that clean air that's going to give him the opportunity. He'll work his way out at Sunset Bend. Another full lap on the racetrack for Lucas Laville.
Keep one eye on Joshua Chin, who is running in second place, 2 seconds back. He still has yet to take his stop as well, so we could potentially see this one. And Laville does appear to be outpacing Joshua Chin right now, believe it or not. So yeah, Joshua Chin, we were thinking he might be able to gun for the lead, but maybe that was when Grosser was holding them out. So I think this might show that Laville was being a little bit held up by Robert Grosser, because now he's outpacing Joshua Chin, only closed in by about 4 thousandths of a second on laps number 2. Lap 73, lost a 1/10 of a second. So Joshua Chin is dropping back by a considerable margin. He's putting in the 55 flat last time by. Lucas Laville a 54.9. So Laville is definitely looking to maintain this race lead, and if he takes another lap, we got to start questioning on that fuel run, because there is a certain point where staying out just will not do it for you anymore. Will they bring it down this time, or will we keep it out another lap? So Lucas Laville really taking the gamble here.
Look at that 54.919 laid down last lap was his fast lap of the race. This car has never been as fast throughout this entire race. 54.919. He goes even faster on this lap. As I said, he does a 54.879. These cars love it with the low fuel load. This thing is absolutely nimble coming through, and he knows it. He can see that he's turning really good lap times right now. Laville is your leader. Joshua Chin second. Grosser still runs in third, but it's all going to come down to what kind of a move can Laville do when he comes into pit lane. Nolan, he's got lots of racetrack still. You can see there's some lap cars in front of him. Could he do one more? It's been a 36-lap stint so far for Laville, for Vortex. Let's see if he brings into pit lane here, or if he tries to roll it one more lap.
Well, I'd have to think he would come down this time. No, he's not. He's staying out again. So we have 25 laps to go. And Lucas Laville still running out in front. Surely he cannot keep that car out there. He's got to bring it down sooner or later. But there's just no way he's going to be able to run that one out much longer than this. They went about 38 laps on that first stint. Remember, so it was 38 laps on that first stint. And now he's on his 38th lap now. So this would be the lap to come down. Otherwise, he'd be going for a new longest stint. And surely, if he goes another one, we'd have to start maybe wondering about the fuel left in the car.
What I think is interesting, too, remember, the longer you go, the less fuel you have to put in. He's only going to have about 23 laps of fuel going into that car. That's going to be a shorter pit stop. So not only is he turning some amazing laps now, everything in the high 54s, a 54.8, 54.9. Now he's going to be able to short fill on fuel. When he gets in, he'll be 77 laps when he comes across, if he indeed pits. Back on the racetrack again. He's going to match it again. He did 38 laps the first stint. He's did 38 now. That'll be 39 when he comes in. We do have one driver in the pit lane. That's Joshua Chin. He's brought the Team Camaro number 93 machine in. He is P2 right now, the winner from Fontana on round number 1. But I will tell you this right now, Lucas Laville is putting on a show going late into his stint, Nolan. He's going to have like 20 of green racing when he gets back on the racetrack.
So Joshua Chin finally bailing out of the stint. He is now off and away, and he is 2 seconds quicker. He was 2 seconds quicker than Grosser in that pit cycle. So Grosser just now crosses our finish line just as Chin is exiting. Grosser's lost the lead, and he's lost it by a very large margin, at least to Joshua Chin. So Joshua Chin, it'll be a battle between him and Luke LaVille. Now, oh, heads up, Chin having to look out for Ken Hoffman, and has to check it up big time for turn number 2. Hoffman ran it in way deep and nearly cleaned out Chin, trying to come back on. So Joshua Chin having some struggles here with that lap traffic. We got to see where he's going to come out, and it looks like finally Lucas LaVille down to the lane. Where will he come out though?
This is a tremendous call. I love the strategy here for Lucas LaVille. And this race, absolutely no short on excitement at all. But LaVille brings the Vortex Sim Racing number 29 into pit lane. He'll only need 22 laps worth of fuel. He'll short fill it. 8.1 seconds faster than Joshua Chin. Lucas LaVille is going to come out with the lead. Here comes Chin onto the straightaway. He's got Grosser behind him, and LaVille with a nice gap coming out. We have a new leader after the pit stops, Lucas LaVille, your leader here at Sebring.
LaVille ran into the grass on the exit of the corner, so still struggling with some cold tires. Got into the grass between turns 2 and 3 and nearly lost the back end there as well. So that's one thing LaVille seems to be struggling with, is those cold tires on the start of these stints. Very, very difficult for to handle those cold tires on these types of Indy cars in the IR05. And well, LaVille proving it is not easy. He's got some lap traffic behind him, which luckily will not be playing too much of a factor in. But if Joshua Chin has any hope of gunning for that lead, he's got to push now. This is the time to do it. We're going to be within about 20 laps to go, so not a lot of time left at all to make something work.
If there's a possibility of seeing the replay of that run into turn number 2 and 3, I think this could be the move of the race right now. Had LaVille got stuck behind these 2 slower cars, then we would have had trouble, right? He's able to get through, and you can see the reason why he went off. If we go back a little bit further, here he comes out of pit lane. He's got these cars in front of him. He knows what he's got to do here. Here's the 2 lap cars coming. He cannot let these guys get by him, and that's why he overcooks it at turn number 2 and 3. You can see him almost 4 wheels off on the exit, but had he got caught behind those lap cars, that would have allowed Chin to close in. An aggressive move for sure for Lucas LaVille, but I think he knew he needed to stay in front of those lap cars if he wanted to win this race.
So now all of a sudden that battle for P1, which was the battle for the race win, which was heating up so much for that second stint, it's completely fallen away. Now there is absolutely nothing to stand between LaVille and victory, apart from, a couple lap cars, but there's 3.15 seconds between LaVille and Joshua Chin. It's going to be very, very difficult for Chin to be able to make his way up, and it does look like LaVille is outpacing your last week's winner from Fontana. It's such a difficult thing here for Chin, because I feel like he could have the pace and some pace in the racetrack, but he's really going to have to do what he can to make it work. Battle on, though, for 11th on the track. Andrew Wood diving it up the inside of Clark Archer into turn 1 and nearly making contact. They managed to keep it out of each other. So the battles are certainly beginning to pick up all around the racetrack again, as other battles further down the field are heating up.
I think if we were privy to the strategy for Lucas LaVille, we may not have been too concerned about the battle that we saw at one point between Grosser and Kayanen, because LaVille was just sitting back there in 3rd spot and really wasn't putting any pressure on Kayanen. Remember, he had gone 38 laps into the first stint. He goes 39 laps into the second stint. He knew he was going to be able to short fill on that second stop. He knew that he was going to be able to very likely leapfrog over everybody in front of him, so he wasn't getting overly aggressive. So it's just a tremendous run there for sure for Lucas LaVille. I love the strategy of it, and this is exciting. Here's a guy that finished 11th in Fontana, coming back there potentially with a victory. A good run here for second for Joshua Chin. He would still have the point lead going to Phoenix in a couple of weeks, but LaVille with that 11th place finish at Auto Club Speedway, what a great way to get himself back into the championship fight if he's able to wrap things up today. 19 laps still remaining as he leads.
So Andrew Wood still trying to find some way around Clark Archer, and Wood, of course, having that very, very close call with Grosser in the pits on that first stint, if you remember. Came out of the pits and nearly cleaned him out. So you see there's 11th and 12th duking it out, and actually just behind them you can see 2 other cars. That is 18th and 19th, Jos Vandeven and Tristan Hauser. That is another battle that is picking up. So these are 2 different battles we can watch at realistically in the same shot here. So Wood getting a bit closer now to the back of Clark Archer, and it's going to be a look up the inside. Tristan Hauser not able to make anything work around the outside of Jos Vandeven. Vandeven having to go defensive, and they're going to be side by side down the pit straight across our finish line. Vandeven might have to back out for turn number 1 if he can't dive it on in. He does. So Tristan Hauser gets the cutback through Sunset Bend, and he's going to pick away 18th place.
Yeah, a little bit of bravery there, Nolan, as you're holding the outside line. If you got the inside, you kind of got to dive it in there. Just didn't have quite enough. And that battle between Hauser and Vanderven was just a ton of fun to watch. And this is what we love to see, do we not? Yeah, we've been focusing on this battle up front because it really has been the race throughout the entire run. The 3 drivers up front, Chin closing at 1 point from 4th spot. But we've got some great battles developing further through the field as well. You picked up a great one there for 18th and 17th, I guess it was.
Well, Clark Archer just lost out in another spot to Andrew Wood. Wood making a very clean pass around the outside, and the battle for 18th. Well, it's no more. Tristan Hauser actually down to 20th place now because immediately after making the pass in turn 1, he immediately lost the back end in turn number 2 and went into the barriers with the front end of the car, overtook the corner again. So it's a very common mistake we've seen in turn number 2 with cars like these. And well, it's unfortunate for Hauser, who's down in 20th place now, and well, Jamie Wilson and Henry Bennett, that might be another battle that could be picking up. And there is the gaps between Lucas LaVille and Joshua Chin. Half a second closed in on the last lap. So Chin still has some fight left in him clearly, but it's going to be the question is, a little bit of a tank stop there off the corner as well. It's going to be a question of, is it going to be enough to make it work? That's going to be the question, because there's just not a whole lot that he can do. He's a good 3.2 seconds back. It's going to be a very difficult fight, shall I say, if he's going to have a chance in closing that in.
Well, there's still 16 laps remaining. You know, that last time by, not this particular last time by, but before, he was, you said, 0.4 of a second faster. But you called the tank slapper there. He wasn't able to run the car to the outside at turn number 8 and 9 and almost looped the car around, which was tough. He fell back about a half a second. Still 3.4 seconds for Chin to be able to close up. We saw that last lap. He was able to close a half a second, but you got to do it every lap. He's 3.5 seconds back. A half a second a lap is only 7 laps. You could get there, but Chin's got to make sure that he hits these marks every time. Much better exit out of turn number 8, Sunset Bed. This time, we'll look at the lap times. There's a 55.0 for LaVille, 55.5 with that tank slapper for Chin that last time by. He'll need more pace. It's got to be a half a second a lap. He's got to get down into the high 54s every lap this time, a 55.2, and LaVille back-to-back 55.0s. LaVille, the veteran driver, so comfortable right now, and he's just hitting his marks, Noel, and that's what you have to do when you're a leader. You don't have to be the fastest guy on the racetrack. You just have to be super consistent and not make any mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be a very interesting fight indeed. And now Jamie Wilson currently in a fight with Henry Bennett. This is for 6th place on the racing service. And I think we need to give a shout out here and a big round of applause to Jamie Wilson, because that car started, I believe, 20th on the grid. He has made his way up 14 spots, and he's running 6th right now. He's not going to be nearly close enough for a top 5, but he is going to have to try to find some way to reel him in. So it's one of those really intense battles right now. This is for 6th place, and Henry Bennett, who's actually down 4 spots, he's also trying to find some way to get on up there. And they can see the graphics showing. There is Wilson working up 14 places, and actually, pardon me, not the biggest mover though. That actually goes to Andrew Wood, works his way up 19 places, up to 11th place on the grid. That is not easy to do in an IndyCar.
Think about that, the final qualifier, right? I think we took 30 guys right into the field. So he's the last guy to come in through qualifying. There's a bunch of fast guys who are on the outside looking in here today. Last guy on the grid, and Andrew Wood in that number 32 did have a little bit of a moment when he got together with Robert Grosser on pit lane, but he's worked his way all the way up to 11th position. Just a tremendous run for Andrew Wood, another one of the drivers, I believe, part of Team Camara. So that crew obviously putting together good race cars, some good strategy, and kudos to him for getting himself into the top 12.
This battle still heating up for 6th place on the track. You saw Bennett trying to have a go around the inside of turn number 1, and Jamie Wilson was forced to go defensive in turn 2. Check Bennett up a little bit, but now Bennett can get the good run that he needs off of the long curve. It's going to be really close in this run down towards the Sunset Bend. I think at this point, Bennett might have him got. So Andrew Wood, where is the gap at right now? It's looking really, really close. This is between just 0.2 of a second, and now Bennett on the back end. Big tank slapper there from Wilson as well as he exited on the Sunset Bend, but still 0.3 of a second. This fight between Wilson and Bennett is far from over.
I'm really liking this scrap here right now. Bennett, as you said, putting the pressure on Wilson with you can see the car unloading, coming over the bumps in turn number 9. And he's going to run a little bit of a defensive run here into turn number 2. Not the worst idea, being able to hold off the potential dive bomb there, but it doesn't give you the best exit speed. Although he does come out of 3 and 4 pretty nicely, gives himself a little bit more of a gap. Got to be about 4 or 5 car lengths as they work their way through the rhythm section. Turns 5, 6, and now through Le Mans, turn number 7 that leads him down the Ullman Straight. Been a good run though for Henry Bennett, one of the first drivers coming into pit lane. That might be something we're going to watch here too. He did pit a bit early. Now he's 20 laps into his stint. We've got 14 laps to go. That car is going to be quick at the end because his fuel load is going to be a lot lower than Jamie Wilson's. 8 laps more fuel in Wilson's car than we see with Henry Bennett. This could be a battle. If it continues on the way it is, Bennett's going to get faster before the end of this race.
Under 1/4 of a second, just about 0.2 now separate these two drivers between Bennett and Wilson. Wilson not taking the defense line this time, crossing back over to the optimal racing line, but he's gaining a good 0.3 in just turns 2 and 3 alone, and everywhere else, Bennett reels him in. So it looks like those 2 turns, that is where Wilson is getting his speed from, and that is where he's being able to find the pace to keep ahead of Henry Bennett. It is certainly, it goes to show you that those 2 corners, that is all that it takes to be able to make something work. So you just really need to have that one section of the track where you're better than somebody else, and that's all it can take to keep in front. It looks like it's turns 2 and 3 for Jamie Wilson.
Yeah, and I think that what plays well for Bennett is that's a place where somebody can make a major mistake, right? He's not able to put the pressure on from 4 all the way to turn 8, not close enough. But he's so good through turn number 1, he gets a great run out of turn number 9. If he's able to put the pressure in turn number 2 and potentially push Wilson into an unforced error, that's going to give him an opportunity. Not close enough this time, and you can see that Wilson running a more traditional outside line, running both the curb on the inside of both corners, hitting those apex as well. Yeah, I'll tell you, Jamie Bennett pretty good through 2 and 3, Nolan. He gets a really good drive out of that tough hairpin corner.
I would like to make a real quick mention here on Joshua Chin. Joshua Chin, something's happened to Joshua Chin. He's dropped back. I was about to mention how he was, a solid few seconds up, but something has just gone wrong with Joshua Chin, it looks like, because he's down to 3rd place. So he went off in turn 2 and 3. Where got the back end step down to spot of the round. So Joshua Chin, again, throwing his race away here, and he lost a spot to Robert Groscher. So, again, more disaster from Joshua Chin. That might have just handed Lucas LaVille this victory on a silver platter.
I think you're probably right there, able to take that spot and yank away. That was an issue there. He's pushing so hard. You can see the replay, trying to work his way down in here. And when you're pushing like this, just takes a little mistake. You can see that was total entry oversteer. Car broke loose before he got the car turned in. Able to get back around and going again, but Robert Grosser goes back to 2nd. So it's a Vortex 1-2 now. Trouble for Chin. He slots back into 3rd position. Joni Kayanen back by just 6.3 seconds now. Chin going to try to hold on to the podium. He's got to be smart here now. He was the winner in Fontana. Let's make sure you log those points. Yeah, he's pushing hard to try to catch up to LaVille. Now I think he's got to change the mindset with 9 to go, Nolan. It's about just trying to bring this thing home in 3rd spot.
And right ahead, you saw Josh Baird actually had some more issues of his own in the battle for 14th place. Baird lost the back end in the Sunset Bend and thankfully kept it out of the wall, but nearly got caught up with your battle for 6th and 7th, which is still very much on. So some more difficulties there, but Jamie Wilson still diving it off into turn number 2, overcooking a little bit on the entry, so lost a bit of time on that exit speed. Just less than 10 laps to go here, and still quite a few battles to be decided.
I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of a car we have here for Henry Bennett. As I said, this car is going to get lighter and lighter. 8 laps to go. Bennett still trying to put the pressure here on Jamie Wilson. They're on top of each other. They'll work it down the back straightaway. As I said, Bennett's car is going to get good. They do have some lap cars in front of them that are definitely going to play a role. Hopefully, they'll see that blue and yellow flag and be able to cede the position and give these guys the track they need. But Bennett with a big run out of turn number 9, trying to close back up. Again, so good through 1 and 2, Nolan. We could see ourselves in the fight right now. And these lap cars are going to play a role in turn number 1 and 2 and 3 as well. Here we go.
Oh, they're going to catch him at the worst possible time here, so this is about to get very, very dicey, so hold on to your hats. Wilson still with the run, but now they have caught the lap traffic, and this is where it could go wrong. We're right on the board with Hans Patakinen in that number 8 machine, running 12th place. He's the car that is a lap down, so Wilson going to try to find whatever kind of space can to get through, and I don't think Hans is doing a whole lot of favors for them in the middle section of the racetrack. Moving back to the left side of the track now to let them through. Wilson able to somehow maintain that position, and Henry Bennett not able to get the speed he needs to close it on in, but they still have Ethan Akin, another driver, a lap down but ahead of them. They are still going to catch him before this race is over.
Yeah, that could have been worse, I think, for sure. Had they been just a couple of car lengths closer coming to turns 2 and 3, I think that really would have opened the door potentially for Henry Bennett to find a way by, but there was enough that they had to close up back in turn number 5, 6, and 7. So Bennett getting a good run here again out of turn number 1, and still trying to have a look to the inside of turn number 2 and 3.
Jamie Wilson with a bit of a tank slapper at the exit of turn 1, then ran it a bit wide and got 2 wheels onto the grass again in turn number 2. So Wilson, he's starting to make mistakes down. Henry Bennett all over the back end, really trying to hound him, but Bennett not getting the good run through Le Mans curve at all, but might just been helped by Wilson with another tank slapper. This one much smaller off that Le Mans bend, and Bennett can try to make the move. Wilson going to go defensive, potentially side by side. Bennett deep on the brakes, might look for the over-under. Doesn't have the speed or the ground to make it work.
I think this is going to give him a better run. There's a tank slapper coming out of turn number 9. Not a good exit for Jamie Wilson. Here comes Bennett. We know how good he's been through turn 1. He's going to look to the outside through 1. Try to set up the big sweeping outside corner. Can he keep the car on the track? He's got him side by side. He'll have the inside into turn number 2. Side by side. No, chip across. To the inside of turn 3. More contact coming through. Out of the corner. Still side by side over to turn 4. Bennett with the pass. Book it. He's through.
Henry Bennett kicking the door open. He said, nope, I am here. You're not taking this spot back no matter what you do. Now, Wilson, can he find something to work in the final few laps? We have got to get a replay of this one. This is with Henry Bennett and Jamie Wilson on the pass for 6th. Watch this as they both go through turn number 2. Wilson trying to pull the outside line, and right there's the contact to send Wilson wide to give Bennett the spot, and that battle is far from over. Wilson not going to be the happiest camper at all with the draft now down the front straightaway. He's going to look to the inside. They're going to be side by side through turn number 1 as we take another look at the replay. Wilson's through. Bennett fighting back around the outside, and it's going to be close. Bennett runs wide onto the gravel, dive bombs him off into turn number 2. Oh, they both walk up and they hit again.
More contact coming through 2 and 3 side by side. Elbows up right now for sure. Bennett trying to go at it here with Wilson. Lucas Laville out by 6.5 seconds. Here's the replay of it again. This is on board now here with Henry Bennett a little bit over. Tries to get back down to the inside of the racetrack. Looked like he's almost got the spot. More contact there because Wilson's not giving it up, Noel. He's coming right across the bow and contact again. This is elbows up racing. Neither of these drivers want to give it away. We're fighting for 6th position like it's the win at the Indianapolis 500.
Well, here we go. That gap closing again 3/10 away. And what we best prepared to get those boxing gloves and take them off. Ding, ding, ding. Round 3 about to commence. Quarter of a second now. And still Bennett closing that gap all over the back end. One car ahead of them. Clark Archer has had problems as Wilson goes defensive. So Archer having some difficulties. Going to keep with that battle. It was a self-spin for Archer, but keeping with this lead battle because this is just too good to go away for sure. Is still Bennett trying to find some way to get around Jamie Wilson. It's going to be about 3 laps to go next time at the line.
The best battle on the racetrack right now. And when they first went at it, actually the second bout, I was sure that Bennett had it handled. Looked like to me like he had the inside line, was going to be able to take it back. We looked at the replay. We come back from the replay, and it's Wilson back out front in the number 87 machine. This is just classic racing, and great to see it here. They'll work their way out of the final corner here at Sebring. It'll be 2 to go this time by, I believe. Will Bennett make another move? Jamie Wilson has been good every other part of the racetrack, but turn 1, 2, and 3. That's kind of where Bennett's had more speed. He'll run a ton of corner speed, try on the outside in. Middle of the racetrack right now for Jamie Wilson. He'll run that defensive line through 2 and 3. And Nolan, we know how good he's been from 3 all the way back over to turn number 8.
There is one car right behind these guys. That is your race leader, Lucas Laville, that is hounding down on your battle for 6th place. Thing is, with how these guys are going at it, I don't think they're going to be in any mood to make. They're not going to be in any mood to make room for your race leader. They're not going to be doing him any favors. It's going to be 3 laps to go for this pack at the line, and your race leader will be crossing the 2 to go when they get around next to you. See Laville just behind them. Big taste slapper from Bennett, not able to capitalize on the mistake. Oh, Bennett's lost it, and he's into the wall. Bennett has floated away in the sunset bed with just 3 laps, 2 laps to go now for your race leader, and that has just ended in heartbreak.
Well, you know, that's what's going to happen when we're pushing as hard as you can. You can make a minor mistake. I was just going to say for Lucas Laville, let's have a look at the replay right now. Yeah, that was, again, you know, Nolan, you talked about it at the very start of the broadcast, coming out of that corner with that big bump there. We'll have another replay. Let's go right on board with Bennett here, all the way down Ullman Straight. He's going to try to get a good run here. He knows how good he's been. Carries a ton of speed through, gets a good run, but a little pinch to the inside over the bump, and immediately the car, the car unloaded on him. Just great racing, though. I was going to say, so worried about Lucas Laville. I did not want to see him get collected in an incident with the guys battling for the 6th spot. Very lucky for him, he was able to come through cleanly.
So just absolute disaster for Henry Bennett. So unfortunate for him to have that happen to him, but that will definitely allow Jamie Wilson to finally have 6th place secure after a very intense fight. The white flag is out, though, on Lucas Laville. Car number 29 started in 5th place, managed to take it back in the pit cycle, was not able to find what he needed to make it work on the green flag runs, but he was able to get what he needed to do in that pit cycle. So Lucas Laville going to be down the long curve from the final time today, down the Ullman Straight, and right ahead of them you can see Jamie Wilson, who will have to take one more circuit. Surely he will not complain about that, though. Lucas Laville going to be coming out to the sunset bend through the braking zone. All he's got to do is keep that car safe for one more corner, and he'll be all free and clear. Lucas Laville off to the final corner, sunset bend from 5th place in a golden pit strategy. It goes to Lucas Laville for round 2 at Sebring in the VRCE Classic IndyCar Series. Goes to Lucas Laville. Robert Groscher was forced to settle for 2nd with Joshua Chin. After a disaster for him, he is going to have to settle for the 3rd spot on the podium today.
I'll tell you, just a tremendous race for Lucas Laville. A little bit of everything, right? He had the strategy laid down. He went longer on the pit stops than anybody, 38 on the first stop, 39 on the second stop, allowed him to short fill on the final, which allowed him to get out in front of everybody. Tremendous run. He had great pace, ran 3rd for a number of the laps midway through, and showed just the kind of patience you're going to have. Really solid run for Lucas Laville. Big day, of course, for racing as they finish 1 and 2. 9th career Classic IndyCar win for Lucas Laville. 11th in round number 1. He wins here in round number 2. Move him up the order in the championship battle. Grosser, tremendous job for 2nd. Joshua Chin, a win at Fontana Auto Club Speedway. 3rd place on the podium here. He will be the point leader heading to Phoenix in a couple of weeks. Nolan, that was edge of your seat stuff. Exactly what I was hoping for this modified course at Sebring.
Well, we saw 30 cars come into the day's race, and that's exactly what we were thinking was going to happen. You know, edge of the seat stuff right through to the end, and a bit of a shame that we lost that battle for the lead. I was really looking forward to that after a 2nd pit cycle, and well, you saw Laville and his Vortex Sim Racing teammate forming up alongside him. So Laville taking a very nice and slow cool down lap, no doubt, not going to be complaining about this as all. So, well, with this in mind, well, Lucas Laville no doubt might be heading off to celebrate. Let's go take a look at your post-race results. It's going to be Lucas Laville that, again, came away with a fantastic victory today. Robert Groscher, your pole sitter, not able to capitalize on the pit strategy, having to settle for 2nd place. Joshua Chin picks up the final podium position. Joni Kaihinen, after looking like he would be able to contend for the win after a spin of his own doing, finishing it off in 4th place with Riley Thompson rounding off the top 5. Jamie Wilson improving 14 places after a very intense fight with Henry Bennett in 6th place. Bennett having to settle for 7th. Luckily did not lose a spot to Marshall Stanley, who finished just 2 seconds behind him. Jan Hoffman in 9th place with Matt Molnar rounding off the top 10. Andrew Wood picks up 11th place with Josh Baird in 12th. Hans Pitkinen in 13th place, Liam Quinn 14th, Jos Vandeveen in 15th, Carson Broadway in 16th, Andrew Adair Saunders in 17th, with Randy Shoemake in 18th, Ethan Aiken 19th, Clark Archer in 20th, Tristan Hauser 21st, Martinez Nakolkirken in 22nd, Luka Lechevic in 23rd, with Ryan Hellier in 24th place. Timo Isunimi 25th, Visa again, forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. I'm 99% sure that I did. 27th place with Logan Simmons, 28th Ariel Guerra Jr., 29th David Sostello, with the 30 car field being rounded off by Johnny Garrett. Of course, we did have 10 drivers today, but 31st through 40th did not take the grid. Only 30 cars were allowed in the race today, so the bottom 10 were eliminated. That will, that is going to definitely do it. So this is going to be very, very, that was an intense race all the way through, to say the very least here, Rob.
You know what? I actually just enjoyed it from start to finish. Like, Grosser was absolutely impressive. I thought he was great from the get-go. But again, it was just that great strategy for Lucas Laville, the way he was able to go long on the stops. For a while there, I figured Joshua Chin was going to be the guy that was coming. He was so quick, was turning the best lap times. He just wasn't able to get himself up into the fight. And a couple of minor issues late in the race. As you said, though, really good run for Andrew Wood. Started dead last in 30th. Last driver to qualify into the show. You said 10 drivers not able to make it in. Andrew actually finished third at Auto Club Speedway in the opening round. Had a great run there. 11th place here. Tremendous recovery from starting at the back. That's going to keep him in the championship battle for Team Camara. So 11th place finish for him. But give it up for me. Lucas Laville did everything you're supposed to do. Stayed out of trouble, ran great laps. Couple of minor issues that probably could have hurt him potentially, but that strategy and the speed to be able to get his 9th career Classic IndyCar win, to me, star of the race for sure. Tremendous run for Lucas.
Well, and with this, we actually do have a couple drivers that might go down and give us a little bit of a chit-chat. So we're going to bring down and start these off with your race winner, Lucas Laville. And, Mr. Laville, a very well-earned win, to say the very least. You managed to take that pit strategy. You ran both stints long. 38, I believe, was the first stint. 39 was the second. And, well, it really came back, and I think it's safe to say it was your pit strategy that earned you the victory today.
Yeah, as usual for me. No different than any other race, pretty much. I know that I'm a good fuel saver. That was not the plan, though. I wanted to be up front after the first stint because I knew I was faster and cleaner than Robert and Yoni. Fortunately, too many paid out mistakes, but I managed to stretch it out a bit. But that was 30 long laps once I got cleaner. 30 laps of qualifying, pretty much. Pretty stressful. And Josh had a very strong pace, as usual. I was pretty worried, but very, very good race.
Lucas, Rob Howden here as well. I was kind of saying, because you had such good pit strategy, that I thought you were being patient back there in third position. You were running right behind Yoni and right behind Robert as well. I thought you were just biding your time, but it sounds to me like, no, that wasn't the case. You were trying to get up front. Was that indeed the plan?
I wanted to come up front after the first stop, which I did. But once I got past, the plan was to stay behind Robert and just leave people behind us and just save fuel behind him. But I got passed again, so the plan changed. Fuel saving all the way, and I think I was +4 at the end compared to the others, which is the target. I was very tight on fuel at the end anyway. I couldn't do any burnouts because of that. I apologize. I always know that the fuel saving game is the backup plan in any case. No surprise for me to be able to be up front at the end. Just keeping the pace comparatively to Josh was the big goal, and I think I managed that, even though he threw it away, as he likes to say.
Well, then, congratulations on your win today here in Sebring, the first one of the season, of course, and I believe your 9th career win in the Classic IndyCar Series as a whole. And before we let you go and celebrate with your Vortex teammates, you have any sponsors or anything you want to shout out for us today?
Yeah, big shout out to the guys at Vortex for giving me the car. My stuff wasn't good, and Robert's stuff is great as always. And he's gonna say I beat him again with his own car, but catch me Friday if you can. Big thanks to you guys for once again a great broadcast. I'm pretty sure. Welcome to the team, Lolan and Rob. I don't know how long you guys will stay with us, but it's a pleasure to work with you, and I'm looking forward to watching the race tonight. And also big shout out to the title sponsor of the series, Virtual Race Car Engineer, for being with us this year.
And that was your race winner for today, Lucas Laville, with an absolutely golden pit strategy to come away with the win today. Lucas, thank you for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
And with that underway, we are going to bring up your runner-up for today, Mr. Robert Groscher, and Rob Howden is standing by with him.
Robert, congratulations on a tremendous run. Obviously qualified well. You were able to get out there early and run extremely well. Talk a little bit about Vortex Sim Sports. You guys put together a tremendous setup. Of course, you and Lucas, very, very quick today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rob. First of all, I'm totally exhausted, so I might be a bit breathing a bit heavy still. That was like super intense. We had a good setup, that is true. We figured something out, practiced well, and then I was really surprised to get the pole position, to be honest, because my lap wasn't even perfect. And it is like August 2017, last time I was on pole, so I was super happy about that one. Obviously, I would have liked to win the race also, but Lucas was doing the better strategy call and had also then a good speed, so there was nothing I could do.
Another question I would have would be regarding the pit strategy. You pit a little bit earlier than Lucas. He went 37 laps or 38 laps, I believe, on the first stop, 39 on the second stop, and with that second stop was able to short fill. Did you guys have differing ideas on pit timing, or was it just you making your own call to come in? I think with lap number 36 was your pit stop.
For the first pit stop, it was pretty straightforward. Lucas is just driving with a better fuel economy. He can pretty much always do one lap more than I can. So that's why I came in lap 36. Then I short fueled a little bit, just a little bit, because I had some bad luck with the pit entry and with some lap traffic just before pit entry. So I wanted to stay in the mix. So I made a slightly shorter stop and was able to get Lucas then once he pitted. But then, of course, for the second pit stop, I don't know, he did like 5 laps more than me. So yeah, that was it then.
On a pretty good run for Robert. What do you got for him?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to give a big shout out to my teammates for preparing the car during the week. Big shout out to all the guys showing up today. Of course, some might be disappointed that they were not able to make the race due to the 30 car limitation. And a big shout out also to you guys from RaceSport TV for the broadcast today.
Congratulations, fantastic run, P2. Good job for Vortex Sim Sports as well, first and second. Jan Hoffman back in ninth as well. Good, tremendous day for you. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
That was second place, Robert Groscher, bringing it home for a Vortex 1-2. And now we are going to bring in our final driver for the day, Mr. Joshua Chin, rounding off the final podium position for us now. Mr. Chin, you had a lot of pace in that car today. We saw you when the top three were fighting it out. You were absolutely running them down, but unfortunately didn't quite have the pace to make it up there. And still, though, came with a nice, solid podium position.
Yeah, it was a nice day for the points. The race didn't quite really go as I expected or planned, and had an early spin, which I think kind of set the tone for the race. Threw away, 6-7 seconds, and there was just more of that, especially pit stops. I got held up both pit stops by cars as soon as I got out of the pits. So overall, a good points day, but a little disappointing for what could have been.
Well, despite this, despite some of the complications, it was a very nice day for and the points, like you said, and I believe you will still be in the lead of the points going into round number 3 at Phoenix. Before we get into that, though, more about Sebring. Actually, we see that a lot of drivers are having some significant struggles with the track, just how bumpy it is, how tight it can be. Did you seem to have any of those types of situations? Were you struggling at all with the track today? Because I did. It was kind of notable that there were quite a few incidents where just other drivers around the track seem to be struggling a lot with the bumps, particularly the one at the Sunset Bend caught out a few people.
I had more issues just with the layout in general. That turn 2-3 complex, I caught myself out a few times, and that last spin was kind of me just trying to push way harder there than I should have. But overall, I think we had a setup that was pretty compliant with the bumps. I know I had the one moment coming through Le Mans onto the backstretch, which was kind of a weird one and caught me out because I hadn't run into it the whole week. But I think we were pretty good on the bumps. I know a lot of other people had the struggles, but we didn't have that same problem.
Well, going into Phoenix, you are going to be looking to continue to maintain that your points lead, and of course, it is going to be the old version of Phoenix, the old 2008 configuration before the repave, before the dog leg was opened back up, back when the road course was still a thing. Do you think we can expect another great performance from you going into that one as well?
I hope so. I like Phoenix. I haven't had much luck there, but I definitely like the old config compared to the new one. I think it's a lot easier to race on. 3 and 4 is still really racy compared to the new config, but turns 1 and 2, you don't have all that track that is basically unused, so you can be a little bit more strategic with where you go, and the lack of banking helps trying to make it side by side through there in these.
And then before we let you go and celebrate your third place for Chimera today, any sponsors or anything you'd like to shout out for us today? Who gets it done for the number 93?
Everyone at Team Chimera, Craig Setup Shop. Big shout out to Jamie, Andrew, Liam, Niall. They all did some work on the setup this week that definitely helped a lot. And I think without it, we definitely wouldn't have had the speed we did. So we got to give credit.
Well, that was your final podium position finisher for today, Mr. Joshua Chin. Josh, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you guys for being here.
And with that, it is going to be time to, just about close things off. Before we end the broadcast today, Rob, your final thoughts on the race, because I know it was an absolutely thrilling one, and, I can't wait to see what Phoenix will bring about.
Yeah, my first opportunity to call one of these classic IndyCar series races, and I can't wait for Phoenix now. I actually watched the Auto Club race from Fontana just yesterday, and even a little more this morning before we came on air. I wanted to get a good feel for it again. That was a tremendous race at Auto Club Speedway. I didn't know how this particular track, this modified Sebring track, was going to race. I got a chance to drive it myself, kind of got a good feel for it. It was super exciting. Of course, the challenge that Joshua talked about in turn 2 and 3. Every one of the top drivers struggled a little bit in that 2-3 hairpin through the rhythm section, 4 all the way over to 7, and then 8 and 9. You talked about that bump so many times throughout the broadcast where drivers did have some trouble. There was tank slappers from everybody in the top 10. I just love the way this track raced. It kind of surprised me a little bit, but in the end, for my first broadcast here with you guys at Classic IndyCar Series, I was thrilled. That's the kind of race an announcer wants to call. The battle up front, the fight, first, second, and third for a majority of that race was absolutely epic. And I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed working with you. Enjoyed working with Randolph as well here at Race Spot. That was just a ton of fun. And for me, congrats to all the top 3 drivers: Lucas, Robert, and Joshua. Just tremendous performances here today.
And with that, it is now time for us to once again sadly close another chapter, another presentation of the VRCE Classic IndyCar Series. I've been Nolan Redbo, bringing you coverage for tonight's race with Rob Howden beside me in the booth and Randolph Chenworth downstairs in the producer's chair. Thank you for joining us here at Race Spot TV on the iRacing Esports Network, and we'll talk to all of you guys in the next one.